Hello, folks. Good morning to you. Forgive me as I'm breathing profusely. Had to rush and come here at the Capitol building. My name is Diamond Slanger from the Spoon Network. And as you can see, the dome of the building is going up in flames, and flames eating through the building of Liberia's legislature here. This is the second fire incident occurring here on the grounds of the Capitol. The Capitol building, this iconic building, is on fire. You can see we have two fire service members here. The fire truck hasn't arrived yet, but all we see are fire extinguishers, and they're making calls. We arrived, we saw the police making arrests, 2 pickup buckets full. But this is what is happening. We want to give you another angle of this, but as you can see, the flames engulfed in the building here. And if not for this fire incident, the Capitol building has been the scene of political theatrics. But now the building is on fire. You can see the black smoke gushing out of the dome of the Capitol building. Usually that will look gold-like. It is now black. The dome of the building will look gold-like, but it is now black due to the smoke. And this is major than the previous fire. This is major because the last fire incident that occurred here, it was in the breaker box, and that was quickly quenched. But you can see the flames eating through the building. We have only 2 fire service men here, and up to now we haven't seen the arrival of a fire engine. So folks, if you're watching, the Capitol building is on fire. The seat of Liberia's national legislature is on fire, and the fire service, the Liberia National Fire Service, has not responded yet. All we have seen 2 fire servicemen, and you can hear the crackling sound as the fire is eating through the wood and the rest. I cannot go any further, but if you can listen in, you hear the popping, cracking, and burning sounds. Black smoke bellowing this Wednesday morning up Capitol Hill. Yesterday was the smoke of tear gas from police officers as they dispersed protesters. But this morning, the smoke is gushing out of the Capitol building. So the fire service truck is arriving. The first fire engine has arrived. And this is from the LPRC, the Liberia Petroleum Refining Company. The LPRC have sent their fire truck. Okay, this will give you a clearer view of the flames. This will give you a clearer view of the flames. The roof, the ceiling, the entire ceiling works in the building has been burnt. The smell of burnt and charred materials has taken over the morning breeze here. So you can see the flames. You can see these flames. This is a building that has been engulfed in speakership crisis, but now engulfed by fire. Yellowish color. The dome of the Capitol building, being formed is the rotunda. That entire area is on fire. Want to see what the fire service from the Liberia Petroleum Refining Company is doing from the LPRC. They've just arrived and they're trying to find how to enter this building. They're breaking the door. They're breaking the door. Breaking in this door. the firemen from the LPRC are moving in. We have to be cautious as well as they're trying to locate where the fire is in this building, hurriedly moving their water hose. It is all about 4G action. So they're trying to locate where the fire is in the building. And the rotunda, so you can see there, you see the reddish color is where the fire is oozing and gushing from. You can see debris already falling. The firemen, look, they're saying glasses should be breaking. So it's not chaotic here. They're trying to find out what strategy to use to locate where the fire is. From embattled Speaker Kofa, but they are exiting the headquarters of the Liberia National Police. He's flanked by, okay, so we cannot get what the embattled speaker is saying, but we're doing our best to get you the image. But he's been speaking to Nelson.
What were some specific questions they asked you, sir?
Winston.
So how was it? How was the
How was the police process? Oh, it was. I guess someone said it's 3 o'clock, so it was about 2 hours. Most of the questions I found not to be related to the fire incident.
What were some specific questions?
They asked me about my employees that I know. I mean, the ones they have arrested, like Tom Etheridge. They asked me about my comment on my Facebook page of the Alamo. Things like that.
You say you don't trust the process, but you avail yourself today?
But I have to avail myself. Once the police asked you enlisted me as a person of interest, I think it's my duty as a citizen to work and avail myself.
As a Liberian citizen, do you regret that the Capitol building, which you serve as a speaker for, got a fire?
Of course, yes. Of course. Of course. I think it's unfortunate what happened at Capitol building. I think the investigation has been haphazard. There were charges that were made, and then some firefighters were brought in from the states, not from mutual assistance, but friends of the police, and they came, and then they made an ultra-virus finding by introducing a new term called incendiary.
Honorable Speaker, let me know what next did the police say to you following the investigation? Did they tell you a particular time they're going to get to you, or what next?
No. The investigation continues.
Okay. As a matter of fact, what do you make of the latest police fire investigation for the investigators? What do you make of the report last evening as you feel by the school network?
Well, I haven't seen the full details of the report, but the mere fact that some say cause of the fire is incendiary, I think the firefighters that came to do investigation were maybe at odds with the arson finding. I'm not sure what the process is in leading to that. I haven't seen their full report. I'll be glad to comment further if I see what the full report is.
Since you arrived at this Honorable Speaker, with the sound on your feet across, there are misinterpretation, even on the social media, some linking it to you being a part of a society or whatever. Do you care to explain the meaning of the cross on your forehead, sir?
For Catholics, today is Ash Wednesday, and so before I came here, I went to Ash Wednesday.
Honorable Kofa, you said all of the questions were not in line with the arson investigation. Can you elaborate a bit on that, Honorable Kofa?
I don't know. I found the questions to be irrelevant, but I guess they know where they're going with it.
if you were asked to believe one of the two claims that have been made with respect to this situation, arson attack and electrical shock, which one do you think you will go with?
No, I haven't had sufficient. I haven't done. I'm not going to be like those who automatically announce what had happened, right? I don't know. I didn't do the investigation. The police and the fire, they said they conducted an investigation. I have my own questions, but if they say there's arson or some group say incendiary, I would take that on face value.
What are some of the questions you have
I have
as
not
an
done
individual?
face value. Huh?
What are some of the questions you have as an individual?
What happened to the chairs at the Capitol building at the background? Why was there fire at the building and the chairs did not get?
Finally, what do
That
you
would be
look
one of the
forward
questions
to?
I would have.
Speaker?
Who was at the building at midnight, the night before the fire? Who was the lawmaker that was there and has been identified but was not listed as a person of interest? Those are some of the questions I have. He knows himself.
What do you look forward to following your appearance here, sir?
I look forward to them concluding the investigation and doing whatever they need to do as the investigators.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, Nelson, let's see if we can reconnect the microphone and then we can check the sound. But you started having conversations with him on set. Folks, if you're just joining us, this is Spoon TV. Embattled Speaker J. Fonati Kofa leaving the headquarters of the Liberia National Police after almost 3+ hours of there going through questioning. He said the questions were not relevant to an arson investigation. He's got his own questions as well. He did mention a lawmaker, but they didn't mention the name of that lawmaker for whom he claimed was on the ground.
So these are members of the minority bloc. You see them. So we're seeing the speaker. So this is the vehicle belonging to Speaker Kofa. This is the vehicle belonging to Speaker Kofa. And we see him coming with a very huge security here. This is Speaker Kofa's vehicle. We see him coming with a very huge security here. So these are members of the minority bloc. So this is this vehicle belongs to Speaker Kofa.
So let's say probably he's going to disembark the vehicle. Okay, so he's disembarking the vehicle. Okay, it is same. It is in other houses.
So there's a mark on his forehead. I'm seeing a cross.
It's beyond that point, please. It's beyond that point. It's beyond that point. It's beyond that point. It's beyond that point. I'm telling you, it's beyond that point. Excuse me. It's beyond that point.
So you're saying Speaker Kofa there, there's a cross on his head.
How do you feel being here this afternoon? You got a cross over here. So, what does it mean?
Oh, as well as how he thinks the investigation look like and how it's gonna be. So let's see what I can have at Canon on our camera.
Today, more than ever, we are on our own. There's no unveil, and there will be no international force in our country to turn to our nation's security if we choose to break our own laws. Now is not the time for members of our national security institution to be engaged in public scuffle among themselves that can only serve to undermine public trust and confidence in their sworn duty to maintain and enforce law and order. Also now is definitely not the time for the Supreme Court to deliver an ambiguous ruling that may take us away from a peaceful resolution of the knowingly disruption unfolding in This is not the time for legislatures to spend their time bickering and spending the nation reserves in the interest of accumulation of power and reserves. The truth is that there will also be, if we do the right thing, consequences when we act with courage to do the right thing, or we would falter in dereliction by pretending blindness in the face of an obvious wrong. May I remind that courage is the cornerstone of our nation. It took courage to declare the independence, our independence, to conclude an end to our wars and to defeat Ebola. Courage is a part of our national DNA. I say this to inspire all of us and to make the point that now and always it will require our inherited courage to join into our destiny of democracy, inclusive development, unity, and political accountability. My fellow Liberians, now also is the time for weakening legislative oversights so that we continue to act in fulfillment of narrow sub-issues. Let me repeat that also. It's not the time for weakening legislative oversights so that we continue to act in fulfillment of narrow self-interest in what is best for a party over what is necessary for our country. Partisan legislatures may make for a strong political party, but statesmen and women legislature will make for a better country. If a legislator wish to imprint their names in history, to be remembered fondly and honorably, choose being a statesman or a stateswoman. This will mean standing alone sometimes. Being right and true to one's principle can sometimes mean standing alone and setting on the courage of one's conviction rather than taking loss unconsciously in a crowd and disrobed of both conviction and principles. Today, the duty is to do the right thing. It has never weighed more heavily on all of us on our leaders, and on us as citizens. According to the World Bank, Liberia's GDP growth rate fell to 0.4% in 2024, emphasizing the urgent need for economic reforms. Only 28% of the population has reliable access to electricity. Only about 5 out of every 10 Liberians can read and write with a literacy rate at approximately 48. Challenges in healthcare quality and access remain daunting. The reality of these circumstances that our nation is faced with today must compel all of us to govern ourselves more responsibly and more accountably. These statistics should not frighten us. They should embolden us to act, being more mindful and determined to right wrongs rather than repeat them, and to fight abuse, waste, and corruption rather than making excuses to continue them. If it was wrong yesterday, it has to be similarly wrong now.
Took my daughter. I packed my bags. Took my daughter, and my son. My daughter is 22 years now. My son is almost 40. We left for the United States. When we reached at the Newark airport, they say they want to search me. Search me for what? Those guys enter my bag. They search me this minute. After 15 minutes, they come back in, bring the bag. They search me again. They kept searching me, not knowing they had me on social media with 2 bags of money. What? You see the US dollar dropping off the bag. That artistic done by Judge Nyenwolo to me that I stole money, and he, as Senator of Monswado County, and being one of his representatives in it, I must come back to answer queries.
I can remember that was under former President Ali Justice Relief.
I say, I'm telling you, I say why he was senator, so it has to be under President Helen Johnson Sirleaf.
So how are you making the attribution, the artistic attribution to him?
So then hold on, as I explain to you, let Jowiah call. If he may enough and deny, then God will hammer, the Holy Ghost will hammer him with a hammer. Listen. Me and my children and I, we slept on the floor for 3 days before they could find us a plane to bring us back to Liberia because I stole money.
On the floor?
So that's in your bed, Kevin.
So that's how you got deported. That's the story around your deportation.
That was not deportation. I never entered.
Okay, so that was your
I was deterred from entering.
That's the story around your
yes.
Your prevention.
Yes, I was prevented from entering, me and my children. When we came back home, you know what my son told me?
No.
Papa, me, I'm telling you, your son, you get your son, I go. Move from behind him. I say, hey, man, please forget it, man. That man, my man. Torgbean knows that I love him. Even now, as I'm speaking against him, I still love him. But because I love you, I shouldn't tell you the truth. I want you to allow me a little bit to go biblical a little bit. You read, if you go to the book of Galatians, Galatians chapter 4, verse 16. Before he reads it, let me read it for you. It reads, am I now become your enemy because I tell you the truth? The time was taking care of him.
That's it.
When I was fighting for him yesterday, when I fought my boss, Achi F. Bernard, for him, for his school fees, for a black pair of shoes, Achi jailed me. I was talking the truth. He laughs at me and he said, look at that one there. Achi jailed him for my penny.
Achi who?
Achi Banal. I was working with Achi at Yes Transport. I was team manager and at the House of Senate. When Achi jailed me, I walked away from the jobs. I turned my back on the job. But guess what? Call Senator Finley one day and ask him. One of these days, God will give Finley the strength. He will muster him with the strength to say, Solomon George, yes, this is what I had. We were at the CDC in a big meeting, and this thing came out, and George we started laughing. He said, "Oh, but I don't want to do it. I don't want Mela to come back." So Senator Finley said, "Oh, man, you did it to Solo." He said, "He went Solo hard at it." He said, "What you do to me? He can't do nothing to me. He loves me because I love you. You ill-treating me, you have a lover. They're beating her every day. I got tired of the beatings. I can explain a lot. Look, when he said it, Senator Finley was shocked. He said, "Man, you went foul. You went too far." And guess what? When I came back, there was no grudge in my heart for him. The reason why I never had grudge in my heart for him because I loved him.
Hello.
I'm muted. How are you, Grace?
I'm doing fine, Tomalin. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Brother G, what's up? How's everything going?
Things are going great, Tomalin. I'm all in red, and you see our beautiful young sister there wearing a red lipstick because tonight we're talking fire. We're doing everything fire, and her earring all red and all of that. So I'm all excited and all pumped up, waiting for this conversation to get started.
Mm-hmm. So if you want here, share the video share the show for us, so you can get detailed information and upfront information on the arson that happened in Liberia Capital building. So welcome to the show, everybody.
Great. So Grace, let's get the show going, Grace. Give the intro of the show, Grace, so we can get it going.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the closing argument. Today is Thursday, March 6th. And we thank God that we are here today, and we thank God that we are Liberians. We also thank God that we live in the greatest country on earth. And we also thank God that we are in communication with our people in Liberia because we love them. We could have chosen today to just, mind our business, go about our businesses, go to the restaurant and eat after work, or, hang out with our friends. But because we love Liberia so dearly, that is why we are here. So welcome to the show. We're going to have two guests tonight from Minnesota fire chiefs that went to Liberia to investigate the arson that happened in the Capitol building, because now they're saying it's arson. So it is confirmed. So they will be all here tonight telling us exactly what happened in that Capitol building, their findings and everything. And then hopefully we're going to have the police director so we can ask him what do we go from here, and what Liberians can expect, concerning persecution, and who the thing is behind this and everything. So brace yourself, share the video, share the show to all the different chat rooms, and I would like to welcome my panelists here with me tonight, Mr. Chief, the right Chief Tomalin George, and also Benedict Rosa. I always call you Benedict. I don't know why. I don't care about the other names. Yeah,
that is perfectly fine. It just tells everybody, how far back we go.
Exactly. We never told anybody I was sorry. One day we'll tell I was sorry.
Exactly.
But I knew better the way back. He's my brother, just so you know.
That's good. Again, it's good to have everyone. Let's get it going. This is an independent fire investigation that was done by 3 veteran fire experts led by Chief Ken Perlman. the former Minnesota fire chief. Before Grace, I put his bio in the chat room. Can you please read his bio before we bring it on, please?
Okay, let me put on my glasses.
Yeah, please. Let's know more about who is Chief Parliament.
Oh, so it's not the three of them, only one of them, right? Come on now.
Yeah.
All right.
Just so you know, he has a hard stop at 5:30, so he's only here for 1 hour.
Yeah.
So, Chief Parliament. Okay. Yeah. Fire Chief Ken Parliament. Ken Parliament began his firefighting career in 1978 in Prospect Heights, Illinois. That's Chicago. He has served as the chief of department in 3 organizations, including Brooklyn Park, Minnesota Fire Department, the Excelsior, Minnesota Fire District, and also the Cheetah Falls, Texas Fire Department. He graduated magna cum laude from Columbia Southern University with a bachelor's degree in fire administration with a fire investigation major. His certification includes, but are not limited to, Master Firefighter, Master Investigator, Fire Officer, IB, which is 4, and Chief Fire Officer, Certified Fire Executive. Ken has conducted or supervised several dozen fire investigations over his career, including several cases that led to the prosecution of arson. He has been certified in multiple cases as an expert witness and related to fire investigations and matters related to fire department operations. So he has a massive experience when it comes to this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we'll just bring in the fire chief, Chief Parliament. So, and let's get the program going. He's here also only 1 hour. Welcome, Chief Parliament. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. So it's great to be on the show, and we appreciate you taking the time.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think you know almost everyone on the platform. You have interacted with them before.
Yeah.
Just want to say, first of all, I want to say welcome again, and just tell us, how are you doing? How's everything at your end?
Everything's good. A little sleep deprived. We got home last night after our journey from Liberia, but we had an amazing several days, very long days, very productive, a lot of work in a short period of time. It was great to be back on Liberian soil, at least for a week, and see some old friends and try to contribute in a material way.
Great. So we're just going to, because we are limited on time, we just want to go straight into the show. Chief, just tell us, you went to Liberia about a week or two ago, and you conducted a fire investigation. Tell us, what's the outcome of this investigation?
Well, I should probably give you a little bit information with regard to the process that led to the outcome. We arrived in Liberia last Friday and received a briefing in terms of the activity that had gone on, as well as a copy of the fire department's report of findings. Saturday, we began with an examination of the scene, specifically the joint chamber and balcony areas of the rotunda of the Capitol building. We began a process of evaluating that scene for evidence of the cause and origin. And that's important for you and your listeners to understand that our focus was very narrow in terms of where in the room did the fire begin and what caused the fire. And so we worked diligently to try and accomplish those goals. At the end of our work, we were able to declare definitively that the fire's origin was actually in the area of the seat, the chair where the Speaker of the House resides or sits. That's the original area of origin, and we were able to conclude, based on a variety of evidence and artifacts that we gathered, that the fire was incendiary. It was started by and the fire was accelerated by some incendiary product.
So I know you say you wasn't going to make your report public, but so who submitted your report to?
The Inspector General has the report. So does the fire chief. Yeah, when we were on before we left, it wasn't we were retained to complete the investigation, submit the report, and we did that prior to our departure day before yesterday.
Okay, I will pass on to Grace to ask a question, then Peabody, and then Russell.
Hi, Chief President, how are you?
Wonderful, thank you very much.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you so much for taking on the courage to go to my country and go and do this investigation. We really appreciate that. My question to you is that, so can you provide an overview? I think you already did that, but I would ask you the question I would ask you is, what specific evidence did you find that led to the conclusion for you to decide that this was arson? Although we know you said that it started in the speaker, where the speaker resides, but how did you come to this conclusion that it's arson?
When there's a fire in a building, what most people who don't have training don't understand is the fire leaves some very indelible marks on and in the building. Many of those don't deteriorate over time, and based on the degree of those marks and the evidence in the building or in the area, we're able to pinpoint exactly where the fire began. So we had a significant amount of findings upon entering the room in terms of evidentiary potential, including for an example would be there are 4 steel I-beam columns that support the balcony that surrounds the joint chambers. 2 of those steel beams showed signs that they were twisted and bent. 2 did not. When a trained fire investigator takes a look at that kind of evidence, it leads to questions like, why? Why would the fire impact only 2 of them and not all 4 of them? And the short answer is 2 of them obviously were subjected to higher heat than the other 2. It takes about 1,400 degrees before steel starts to twist and melt. So 2 of those columns got to 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit. The other 2 did not. What that tells us in a room like that is the columns that began to melt were closer to where the fire started than the other columns in the room. We were also able to identify several other physical features of the building that were there the day after, and if no one touched the building, if the building wasn't remodeled, those features of twisted steel, they'd still be there months from now, and so we would be able to identify those. Burn patterns on the walls and on the floor are some of the marks that a fire leaves behind. It's not something that anybody can change. But it tells a very good story about where in the room the fire began, how low, how it expanded. So we were able to identify literally a dozen or more attributes that the fire left behind that allows us to definitively declare where that fire began and what caused that fire.
Okay, thank you. Tomalin, is there 2 questions? Okay, so I wanted to ask because I wish that the police director was here, but I wanted to ask this question. I don't know if you can answer it, but then I will go to another one. I will ask it anyway. So based on your findings, do you have any insights into potential motive for this arson attack on the Capitol building?
Well, let me give you maybe a little bit longer answer, because I think, if I've watched at least some of the comments on social media in Liberia, there's a lot of confusion around how these types of investigations take place. So let me describe in kind of a best case scenario what we're accustomed to here in the United States. So a fire takes place. The fire department is already on the scene because they've extinguished the fire, and immediately that investigation takes place. Now in America, in almost every single state, any fire that causes more than $100 of damage is required to be investigated. That means that basically every fire gets an investigation. Some of those investigations only take a minute or 2. So let me give you an example of that. If you live in an apartment and I put out a fire in your apartment, and what I find is in the kitchen on the stove is a burnt pan, and the cabinets directly above the burnt can is the only place in the apartment that has fire damage. My investigation is pretty short and simple. There was food that was left unattended. It caught the cabinets on fire, and the fire department put it out. Some of our investigations are literally that quick. Other investigations, it's possible that the cause can evade us. And I have fires that I investigated 10 years ago that we don't know the cause to this day, because it could have been an appliance like a toaster or a coffee maker that completely burned up in the kitchen fire. It could be an electrical fire that we weren't able to find the original source. So of all these investigations, there's a pretty wide scale of how long does it take to arrive at a conclusion, all the way out to can you get to a definitive conclusion at all. In the United States, we have very, very strict standards before we can declare the cause of a fire based on certain legal requirements. Now, there's a different set of standards here than exist elsewhere in the world, but the standards that exist here are the ones that we were trained in. Now, getting closer to the answer to your question, once the investigation starts, there's actually 2 separate investigations. One has to do with what's the cause of the fire and where did the fire begin. So in the example I gave you, the cause was unattended cooking, and the area of origin is identified as on top of the kitchen stove. Those are the 2 pieces in a typical fire investigation. If during the fire investigation there is evidence of an incendiary fire, then working either hand in hand or coming in behind the fire department would be a law enforcement investigation. And law enforcement, although they might lean on us to better understand what we know about the fire, law enforcement are the ones that are charged with the responsibility of conducting a fire and determining suspects, motive, means, opportunity, all of the things that ultimately lend itself towards holding someone accountable. Again, those two investigations oftentimes begin and they run side by side. In some cases, the fire department gets out in front of the police department, but they're clearly two different investigations. With the unrest that took place in the Capitol with regard to the Speaker of the House, the police department started an investigation towards suspects and motives long before we arrived. Now, in part, it was based on an early declaration by the fire department that this fire was arson. And so, similar to here in the United States, when the fire department investigation is done, oftentimes that's when the police department begin to take over that investigation.
Sir, 220.
The day of or the day after this fire, the fire department there in Liberia declared it an arson and therefore kicked off that secondary. So we did not, we weren't retained, nor do we have the experience and skill set to do the law enforcement piece of that. That would be Inspector Coleman and his team.
Thank you.
Chief Pehleboe, great to have you back, and glad you made it back safely from Liberia.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. You talk about when you went to Liberia, you guys had a briefing. Who gave you the briefing, though?
Inspector General Coleman arranged for his investigators to tell us, walk us through what had taken place. We were able to ask questions. Our concerns were focused on how the scene had been secured, whether there'd been any other evidence related to the cause and origin, whether that had been collected or not. So that was the nature of the briefing, was to bring us up to speed and for us to share what our intent was relative to the process that we would follow beginning on that Saturday.
Well, Chief Pehleboe, the only thing you guys should have met with the fire chief first to get the briefing rather than the police?
The fire chief was in the room.
Oh, he was in the room. Okay.
Yeah, he was in the room. We already had, and he handed me his report. So we had the benefit of being in the room with the fire chief and heard from him. Absolutely.
One thing is, Chief Pehleboe, there was another fire at that Capitol building prior to the other fire that happened.
Yeah.
Did you guys take that into consideration as well?
We sure did. It was part of the briefing. They showed us photographs that had been collected, and we had an opportunity to visit with fire chief about that fire. And then we went and looked at the physical evidence on the site at the Capitol building. So yeah, we looked at all of that. We also considered all other potential causes of what might have caused this fire, and were able to rule out any other cause. So yes, we had access to that. We looked at that.
May I ask, what did the police briefing of the fire chief tell you? What was in their briefing?
Well, there was a portion of it that was a description of this previous fire. I believe the date was November the 9th into November the 10th. They shared what the investigation looked like. They shared some pictures that had been taken of it. There were a couple of pieces of evidence that the police department had taken into custody relative to what was believed to be potential cause and origin, and gave us an update on how that was processed. We asked a lot of questions about what firefighters did when they first arrived and what the response was. So that was the nature of the briefing that day.
One last question, then somebody else will come up. But Chief Pehleboe, do you think the 3 days giving, was that sufficient time for you guys to come up with conclusion that this was called, do you think that was sufficient time?
If not, we were prepared to extend. So yeah, we would not have issued a report if we weren't confident in the results. Again, as I stated earlier, the fact that it was a big fire doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to take months and months to determine it. There's a tremendous amount of physical evidence that we found very quickly, and we brought 100 years of experience between the three of us. And so in a building like that, the indicators were crystal clear to us, and we were able to identify them very quickly in the process. I get those documented both in our report and take photographic evidence of those and turn those all over to the Inspector General.
All right, I'll stop here and then for the next round.
Okay.
Russell, you want to come in?
Thank you, and thanks, Chief Parliament. It's great seeing you again, and thanks for your service, and thanks for safe travel. And my gratitude and appreciation to Chief Strike and Chief Lynn. We also appreciate their time and their service there too as well. Absolutely. I just have a few questions for you, and again, excited to have you on the closing argument. I know you told us when you were here the last time that you're going to come back when you return. So we appreciate the fact that you held on to the promise that you made. So the audience and the listeners, they're all excited about this. So you've been watched and listened to all over the Republic. So like I told you earlier, you're a celebrity now. a good celebrity at that, So my question though, can you please, in the simplest way possible, address this issue around incendiary versus arson? Why did you use the word incendiary in your report, and not arson? I mean, can you address that?
Sure, absolutely. So you in some ways, under certain circumstances, those terms might be interchangeable. Here in the United States, we're very careful about how we use those terms. Arson is technically a legal term. Arson is technically a criminal act of intentionally setting a fire to cause harm or damage. Our job was to definitively prove where the fire started and how it started. Our job was not to conduct the criminal investigation. As a result, our focus was with regard to the cause. The evidence that we collected, were able to confirm that an incendiary device or a flammable liquid, more likely, was the cause of this fire. There are other incendiary fires that are not arsons. I'm going to say that again. There are incendiary devices that are not arsons. Let me give you a classic example. I have a little fire pit in my backyard where I burn lumber and tree limbs. Every time I light that, if I use some kind of an accelerant or one of those little fire starters that has accelerant in it, technically that's an incendiary device. That's an incendiary fire, but it's not arson. It's not a criminal act. So all incendiary is not necessarily criminal. All arsons are incendiary. So there's a relationship, but it's not one and the same. One has to do with the device or the liquid versus one has to do with a criminal charge of arson. One of the reasons that our team avoided the use of the term arson is we didn't recreate all of the investigation that law enforcement had done. We weren't called upon to do that. our job was, could we confirm that a intentionally set fire, or would we find evidence that there was some other cause for that fire? In a well coordinated event, the two sides, fire and police, would come together and make that criminal declaration together. As you know, the fire department in Liberia had previously referred to it as an arson, and both the inspector general and the president had used that term. But unfortunately, the basis on December the 19th for using that term, at least by our United States standards, didn't exist. The reasons that were used to declare it an arson in the first place are not reasons that we would use even to declare it an incendiary fire. So those are two different terms, and our focus was on the cause, which is why we used that term the way we did.
Thank you, and thanks for clearing that up. I hope it made sense, or if the number of people who are listening or viewing this clearly understood or comprehended what you just said. So I appreciate that. My next question is about relationship, right? There are a number of people, and you've spoken about this when you appeared on the show here, that you have had a long standing relationship with President Garguah, the current president, going back to when he was vice president of the Republic. Why shouldn't someone think that you were compromised because you have a relationship with President Garguah, or you know him? Why shouldn't someone draw that conclusion? And if you can also add to your answer, how well do you know the Inspector General Gregor Coleman? When did you know him? How did you know him? So I mean, these two principal actors, the police chief and the president of the Republic, because a number of folks, are saying that you have a great relationship with them, and by virtue of that, your report, the report by the team, should not be taken credibly. It's not a credible report because of those relationships. What do you say about that? What can you say about that?
I'll be glad to answer that. And so let's start with the issue of just what would be a compromise. Another word, of course, for my report or my activity to be one that has been compromised is corruption. I recognize I've been a part of the Liberian fabric in Liberia and in Brooklyn Park since 2011. I understand that their citizens of the Republic have unfortunately become so accustomed to corruption that some believe everybody is corruptible. Generally speaking, corruption has to have a component of some kind of quid pro quo. Like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, is how we describe it in America. And so to be compromised would mean that there's got to be something that one party gets out of the other. So if you look at my now nearly 13-year history, you can't find any evidence, not because it's well hidden, it's that it doesn't exist. The second thing, if I were to show you my U.S. tax returns, I can tell you that the amount of money that I make in the fire service in America, teaching, consulting, assisting fire department jurisdictions, far exceeds what any individual or government agency could give me to compromise a single investigative report. If I were to allow myself to become compromised, my livelihood, my reputation would immediately go to nothing. There's not enough money to compromise me. In fact, each time we had a conversation about our team coming, I made it crystal clear that even if my report and our actions brought embarrassment to the fire chief, to the police chief, or to the president of the republic, we were going to allow the facts of the case to be presented as the facts of the case. I'm not in line to be appointed as the fire chief of Liberia. I'm not trying to become a government official or sit on the president's staff for the balance of his term. There's nothing that could be offered to me that would allow me to be compromised. And same with Chief Strike and Chief Lynn. Part of the reason that they're part of this team is because these are men who are not in any way, shape, or form corruptible. As it relates to Chief Coleman, I met Chief Coleman face to face for the very first time the morning after I arrived in Liberia. I had a Zoom call with Chief Coleman 10 days or so prior to my arrival, and I had a voice-only call with him 10 days before that. I had never heard of Inspector General Gregory Coleman. I don't know his history. I know nothing about his service to the Republic of Liberia. Those are the first three interactions: was a voice call, a Zoom call, and a meeting for the first time last Saturday morning.
Thank you.
Okay, Chief, I know you have limited time, but we'll go to the phone lines after our next round of questioning. I'll go one. Chief Perlman, prior to you going to Liberia, you and your team going to Liberia, you were aware of the situation on the ground concerning the fire issue?
Yeah, I was familiar. We watched almost all the news that we could. I printed off almost every article. So we had a pretty good understanding of what had happened with the fire and the issues, including rumors and innuendo surrounding the fire.
Okay. Prior to you going, the president of Liberia without investigation, he came out and said it was arson. The police inspector general and the fire chief came out and said it was arson. They came out with that. Now, you are also aware that the Speaker of the House, Speaker Kofa, they have accused him of being involved in this fire. He and people close to him, and some of them are in jail today. So, do you think it was a fair undertaking to go to Liberia and conclude that it was arson without doing a forensic analysis of the potential culprits?
Yeah, I think going made a lot of sense. First of all, and it's included in our report, and I've already had this conversation. The declaration of arson based on what was in the public news agencies. I saw it, I believe, on Al Jazeera the first time. There was a declaration that it was arson based on the color of the smoke. That's old science. That no longer applies. The fire chief is in some ways the victim of the Republic not giving the fire department enough financial resources to do enough training. He didn't know what he didn't know. We have tried for years to get resources for the fire department and with the intent of using those on training. He has not been afforded the kind of training needed, nor has his investigative staff. They all believed something they heard 30 years ago, that the color of the smoke is what tells you how it started. That is not a correct statement. After he made that statement, I believe that the police chief relied on what he thought was their expertise, and I believe the president did the same thing, and both of them used the term arson. But all three were relying on a foundation that wasn't very solid. So yes, I believe it makes a lot of sense for us to have come in so that we could definitively demonstrate that this was in fact an incendiary fire.
Okay, yeah. Let me just double down. So, with all doing a forensic analysis to involve the accused culprits, and the fact that they already made an accusation, they already accused the speaker, and people close to the speaker of being involved with all of that, and then to conclude that it was arson. Do you think it was, like I said? Do you think it was a fair conclusion to come up with after they already made an accusation and making determination what caused the fire? They already accused the speaker, people close to the speaker, have people in jail, with all doing no forensic investigation.
Well, first of all, I think that we could spend a lot of time defining what forensic means. What we're not prepared to disclose is all the volume of evidence that we collected on determining the fire. Nor is I don't believe the Inspector General is prepared to disclose all of the evidence that they gathered as part of this process. And the reason for that is not because we don't want to be transparent, but all of those suspects are still entitled to due process in the courts. And so the body of evidence will be presented in Liberia based on your laws and your procedures. But there is a tremendous amount of evidence on both the fire and the law enforcement side of this case.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and thank you for stating that, Mr. Fetterman. And I just want to say, I'm not a UP partisan, but I'm Liberian, and I want to clear up that the president said what he said that time because there was confusion in the country. A lot of confusion was going around, and the gangsterism behavior of the people of the country. So therefore, when stuff like that happens, the president too is, kind of excited that in a bad way. This is what happening after you see that kind of thing. You agree that the president just made a statement. It was like arson to anybody, even me. I thought that because of everything that was going on within the country concerning this whole Speaker of the House thing and the divide between the House of Representatives. So I don't think we should hold that on the president because he made that statement. Besides, after he made that statement, there was investigation done by the police director and whosoever was doing the investigation, and they had evidence to show it was arson. They needed a second opinion. That's when Chief Parliament and his colleagues came in to give that second opinion, showing that this thing is actually, it was arson. So it was arson. So that's where we are with the whole thing. I don't want us to play politics on this thing because we are not going to back one set of people on this thing. This is wrong for Liberia. These things are not supposed to be happening. So I'm going to move on from there because I believe the findings of this investigation. I am waiting until the Director General and whatsoever court procedures happen for these people to be prosecuted. We're not going to tolerate this kind of behavior in our country that is already hurting. But Chief Parliament, I want to ask you this. Prevention and preventive measures. Are there any recommendation your team has made to prevent similar incidents in the future, both on the security side and in community engagements? Did you guys give them any information? Because we're really looking forward for these Liberia to be a better place. So I know you guys want to investigate and everything. You have your findings, but were there any advice to the fire department or to the Director General on how to prevent this thing from not happening again? What security measures are they supposed to put in to prevent it just in case it happens so people can be caught on the spot and prosecuted the way they're supposed to be prosecuted?
Well, I believe that there's lots of things that need to be done in Liberia, particularly from a fire prevention, fire suppression, and fire investigation standpoint. It's easy to get to this point and say and be critical of all of that, but the reality is there have not been the resources made available to teach the firefighters modern fire tactics, modern fire investigation tactics, modern fire prevention. The fire code, the official codified legislation regarding how buildings are supposed to be built. The last time I looked at it, it was about a 50-page document. It still refers to a building type of a building that's non-flammable. There's no such designation. So over the years, we've made lots and lots of recommendations, and there are dozens and dozens more that should be. A big part of our engagement this last week is that neither the law enforcement or the fire department has ever been taught how to take that much fire and debris and how to process it. Perhaps most of your viewers have not, I don't know that there's been any pictures released from inside that facility, but you've got a very, very large room where every single surface, every chair, every piece of that room was destroyed by fire. It produced 2.5 feet of debris that had to be sifted through to find evidence. Both the fire department and the police department have not had the financial resources to be taught how to do this according to international best practices. And so there's all kinds of recommendations. There's recommendations that we made in a written report 12 years ago that the Republic has not yet had the financial resources to implement. When it comes to arsons, it is oftentimes very difficult, if not impossible, to prevent that. But there are a number of things that could be done to further protect the Republic. We wouldn't have a building like that in any state in the United States that didn't have working video surveillance 24 hours a day. That's probably one of the first things that would help in the public buildings is a working video surveillance system so that every single person that goes in and out of these buildings is logged and that video surveillance is stored in a secure location forever. Imagine the difference that would make to either confirm or rule out who was or was not in that room prior to the fire beginning. So yes, there's a lot of recommendations, and we would be glad to share those if or when invited to do so.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question, and just what you said, sir, the resources and the money not available, but one person in the government can take $190 to fix their office. And these are the kind of problems we have in the country. The poor people just continue to suffer because of the corruption, the consistent corruption in our country that can't end. But my next question to you is, I think this is my last question. The international support, are there any international resources or agencies that will assist Liberia in restoring that Capitol building and enhancing security measures moving forward? Is there any you can recommend to this government to help the country? Because the way we see things now, after all is said and done, they might probably allow that building to remain like that, except a new government come in, because they were very used to doing these kind of things and they would just let it go. So if you have any recommendation, maybe you could say it here tonight so our people can hear it and the government officials can take it and try to list up with us those recommendations to help the country heal by fixing that Capitol building. Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, I don't have any recommendations on where to turn for resources to help in that regard. I'm so sorry.
All right, Chief Pillerman, let me ask you. There are concerns among Liberians that I know you met with the fire chief, you met with the police director, they told you their investigation, but they are only targeting one group, and that's the group that they did not investigate the other group. We have both a breakaway group, the majority bloc, which is supported by the executive, which President Guar is supporting, and we got the legal speaker Honorable Fonate Kofa. But what they are doing, and a lot of Liberians has expressed their displeasure on this, that the police is only targeting one group that the executive do not support. So a lot of Liberians find it very challenging to believe that the report will be unbiased from that, because a lot of Liberians have said that you are friends with President Bouaka, you attended his inauguration, you visited him when you went to Liberia. I'm just quoting what Liberians are saying. Did you by any means ask the police director or the fire chief that investigation that is taking place? Did they interview people from both sides of the aisle?
I know for certain, based on my experience working with law enforcement here, that the Liberian National Police has done an outstanding job collecting evidence. And because they're not in a position to disclose the amount of evidence, I get the fact that people feel like what you've just described. In the United States, on a case like this, I'm not a lawyer. I'm certainly not a lawyer in Liberia, but in the United States, we would be very careful to only rely on evidence that we believe will survive a trial. In America, there's a lot of effort to discredit individual pieces of evidence, and oftentimes we don't fully disclose all of the evidence until we go to trial for that very reason. And there's a lot of aspects of this case where law enforcement has conducted a thorough investigation, but may not yet be ready to disclose what they have. And we have done a thorough investigation on the fire side, and it'll be up to the Inspector General or the Attorney General to determine if and when that information is disclosed, or whether it gets disclosed only at trial. Again, I'm not an attorney. I don't know law in Liberia, but there is a significant amount of evidence on both the fire and the law enforcement side of this event.
I'm done. Go to Robert.
So, Chief, welcome to the closing argument, and thank you for willing yourself to engage us. First of all, I'd like to say that I commend you for what you and your guys have done. I personally do not question your credibility. I also believe that the Liberian government does not have the resources to convince you to compromise your long-term or your long-standing work that you've done. But I want to clarify, and I think my sister Grace alluded to that. I want to say definitively that decisions, definitive statements in criminal or not determined criminal cases or potential criminal cases or criminal charges. Can we mute ourselves? I'm hearing echo. If you're not talking, can you mute, please? Or criminal charges and prosecution cannot be made based on our thought. I just want to be clear. And so when we try to justify the president's premature statement as to what he thought caused the fire, I think we're not doing ourselves any good. We got to be patient when these things happen. The president sets the tone. Leaders in strategic positions sets the tone. We cannot speak emotionally, and we cannot make those statements when we do not have the evidences to back and support those statements. I just want to be very clear. Chief, you constantly have said that the police department and the fire department have not been trained. They have not been given the resources. I got to be blunt with you. I think that's a flimsy excuse. And perhaps indirectly, I listened to your interview on Spoon when you said, and I quote, the fire department or the police does not have the tools and the expertise to have conducted a credible investigation to determine the cause of fire like you and your guys did. And I concur with that. But when we continue to hear about the police inability to do their jobs, the fire department inability to do their jobs because they've lacked the resources, again, I will blame that on the government because they don't lack the resources, sir. You're probably not aware. They don't lack the resources. They've chosen not to invest in areas that are of importance. The national budget has been released. And in that national budget, there's $1.9 million allocated to the vice president office that does not support fire, that does not support police equipment, that does not support anything that is important. There's a $750,000, almost $800,000 United States dollars that goes to the vice president maintenance of his vehicles. Then look at the budget and compare that to the fire department and the police department. And so if the police department and the fire department does not have the expertise or the tools to do their jobs, that does not excuse why we as citizens should sit and allow incompetence to take center stage. And so just based on your statement that you made, I think it's a damning condemnation to every investigation, every evidences that have been put forth so far in this case that have led to charge or indictment. But I want to ask you a question. You said that the cause of the fire was incendiary. Can you clarify again? I think you attempted to do that earlier, but can you clarify again? Because I know for a fact that arson leans towards criminality. But like you said earlier, and I want you to restate that, I know that not all incendiary is necessarily criminal. So you've done your piece, but can you definitively say that the cause of fire is enough, based on the evidences that you came up with, is enough to determine intentionality? Because intentionality is very important here. Something designed to cause fire or inflame something or whatever does not necessarily mean that it was done intentionally. And if it was done intentionally, based on your investigation and based on the criminal evidences that you've probably privy to, because we don't know, is it enough to have allowed a criminal case to proceed at this moment before your investigation concluded?
I can declare definitively that our team identified enough physical evidence to definitively declare that the fire was incendiary. Now, we've already addressed the issue of should the director of the fire service, national police, and president use the term arson prior to that, and the foundation for those claims. We addressed that. Here's the example. If Chief George said to me, you can't have more than 3 microphones open at a time or you get feedback. I'm not a radio host. I don't do my own podcasting. I would accept Chief George's statement as absolute fact. I would believe that he's properly trained to make that statement or he wouldn't have made it in the first place. But if Chief George is using an understanding that's no longer applicable, that's old technology, that's old science, I could repeat something that's wrong. He could say something that's no longer accurate. I think that's what's happened. The fire chief has not been afforded, for whatever reason. You raise a lot of issues that are well outside of what our engagement was, but for whatever reason, whether it's invalid or not, he doesn't have the training and what training he had or what knowledge he had about how to determine is no longer applicable. Okay. At one time it was. And then when you have the senior expert, the director of the National Fire Service, make a statement based on science and best practices that don't exist anymore, That's how we end up in the situation. But I can assure you that my team had identified, photographed, packaged, and handed over for the prosecution the physical evidence to definitively declare this was an incendiary fire. And I'm confident all of that will come out as part of the criminal trial process.
Right. So then just based on that, Chief, just based on that, because again, and I agree with you 100%. If the information used to based on the previous fire investigation was based on a theory or an idea that is no longer applicable, then you will agree that those that have been charged prior to this, your investigation, right? Because you have the tools, should be out of jail by now. Because
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because you are connecting the physical evidence related only to the cause and origin. You have no idea the physical evidence related to suspect, motive, all of those things, the things that were outside of our purview. So though you cannot make that connection, not there or not in any investigation.
Yeah, well, excuse my ignorance though, because the reason why I said that, and again, you are the expert. The reason why I said that again is you said that the fire investigation and the criminal investigation can go hand in hand. But again, you cannot proceed with a criminal investigation if you don't understand the cause of fire. So
no,
again,
that's inaccurate. That is inaccurate.
Why is it?
All right, let's say, for example, just for example, that there was a fire. There was a fire in my home tonight. And let's say, for example, my neighbor came next door and said to me, Robert started that fire. I saw him. Or for some other reason, he knew that the fire had been started. That would be enough for the police to begin an investigation on Robert before the fire investigation begins, because there is other evidence related to the criminal side of this that became evident before we were able to do a thorough fire investigation based on current science.
Okay,
that's
so
an example of why that you cannot connect those two.
And I agree, but would it be enough to have me in charge and arrested?
I'm not a lawyer. I'm
exactly.
Not
so and I asked that it's a rhetorical question.
You got to direct those questions.
Thank you.
Else.
It's
and
a rhetorical
folks,
question.
I'm out of time for tonight.
It's a rhetorical, Mr. Chief, it's a rhetorical question that I asked, and I will close on this note. It's a rhetorical question that I asked because, again, I understand that's probably out of your.
Robert, he doesn't have a lot of time. He's about to go. So if Duke has a quick question,
let me just say.
No. Just 30 seconds before Duke coming. The reason why I asked that question, you just made a great analogy. Because someone said they saw me do it, it's not enough reason. You can start an investigation, but what the police have done here is they have started an investigation based on hearsay without no substantial evidence that at least that we've heard, and they've made charges and they've proceeded with a criminal prosecution when they have not even completed a criminal investigation.
But Robert, that's not his lead. That's not what he was.
I'm not saying it's his lead. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, again, what I'm saying is, if the fire investigation goes hand in hand with the criminal investigation, then you need to make sure both.
The fire chief has to leave, so can I?
It makes no evidences that the police.
But do go ahead.
Can I say, Chief Ken, I want to say, thank you for using your time to help our country. We understand there's nothing new when an outsider tells us that the system is backward more than 30 years. This is not a surprise. This is things that we're familiar with. And when he says that, he means it. And I just want to say thank you, first and foremost. I have no questions because, I followed through on everything you say. But I just wanted to just come on number one to just say, look, we acknowledge the efforts that you put in. We really appreciate, the thoroughness of your brief investigation. And I can assure you that it is not something that we take for granted. And I don't want people just kind of downplaying the expertise, of your team and even you. And I know a lot of us on here, not any of us are qualified enough to question your judgment in terms of what you saw. So I want to say thank you. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. And
thanks. Chief Parliament, before you go real quickly, let's talk quickly about how secure you saw the crime scene. I mean, how secure was that from your
absolute. I'll close with absolute. There was 24/7 guard posted from the day of the fire. One entire wing, one set of doors to one side of the house was locked, and we verified every single lock. The other was actually the doors were nailed shut. And besides, the physical evidence that we documented is not evidence that could either be taken out or put in after the fact. And so the scene remains secured the entire time. Folks, I've got people waiting on me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Parliament.
Thank you.
Yes, and Tommy, can I follow on my remark, please, quickly?
We appreciate. Thank you, Chief Parliament, for your time.
Thank you, Chief.
Bye-bye.
Yes,
Thank you.
Tommy,
We'll be in touch.
If I can follow with my remark on this issue, I think everybody's stated the points. Everybody's has some, great spin in terms of this. Here's what I want to say. Now, I'm in no way connected to anybody. This is just my personal opinion. It is not attached to anybody, and I think that I'm qualified enough to be able to speak on this issue as a Liberian and as an outsider as well. The first thing here that I keep hearing people say, and I think my brother Robert said something similar, that the president came out and said that it was arson and they're arresting people based upon speculation, and that's not proper, full investigation. First and foremost, you don't need to arrest people, right? You don't need to do an arrest until there's a full investigation. The witness statements, there are initial evidences, right? And based upon those, right, you can definitely hold people while trial or an investigation is being launched. The first thing first here, the fire investigation or from the fire experts is not just the only evidence that needs to be taken into consideration. That's one component of it. Whether the Liberian fire chief made an error in the beginning and then follow his due process on that, okay, we totally understand. But that does not negate the fact, right, that there are other components of this investigation, right, that we have to take into consideration. Number one. Number two, you understand me? You can't tell me that people can't be in jail when, a full investigation has not been done. That is absolutely incorrect. You can definitely have people in jail while an investigation is being conducted, and that can be based upon the initial evidence. And listening, the fire evidence based upon what police have. And I think the police have said it in the beginning. I'm not sure why we're ignoring it. Gregor Coleman came and had a press conference. During that press conference, they said, number one, they had audio, and they actually interrogated some of the individuals that were suspected to be part of the burning of the Capitol building. And based upon the conversation that they have in the notes and all of the information, they believe that those individuals are part. In addition to that, on the day of the fire, they found a can, that was used to set this ablaze. And I believe it was actually linked to a particular gas station wherein that particular petroleum or whatever was used was actually, purchased from. So how are we going to ignore that and say that because a fire chief from Liberia made a remark that we don't agree with, and we feel that it's speculative, and so those people should be, released? Look, all of us have our political ties. I know we have our friends. I know we have relationships with people, but we should not put the interests of those people ahead of the state. We all want Liberia to be a better country. Accountability is key. If the government is doing all it needs to do to hold people accountable, we support it. You can't tell me that a man who and his team that comes from about 100 years of experience that tells you what he saw is incorrect, and that the government is on a witch hunt against individuals because we think we've led our mind to believe that. I think it's absolutely unfair. There are a lot of evidence, and he said it. The government would not state its initial evidence or all of those evidences, and that's what you have a life case being processed. They're not going to tell you, but this man just told you on the podcast that from what he's saying, and based upon all of the evidences that he saw before, they have an overwhelming case. They're not going to disclose it. So let's give these people the chance. Let's show some respect to our lawmaking body and people in charge. And let's not just run based on assumption to say that people can be arrested. Yes, they can be arrested. They have to be in jail. If they were initially connected to it and there are other evidences, you can hold them accountable. We've heard audio. We know about other things that was collected and stuff. So they're on the right, and I think we should just give them the time to continue.
Let me come in for a second, Tomalin. Duke, you are absolutely wrong.
Are we taking time?
You are absolutely wrong.
What am I wrong about, Robert?
Yes, what you're wrong. One is you are telling us to respect our lawmaking body. First of all, the lawmaking body don't even respect themselves and the law.
I was speaking.
One second.
Let's not go to the political.
One second.
I was talking about the police and this investigation.
So
I'm not
you're talking about law enforcement, right?
Law enforcement. Okay. So
thank you.
Great. So the law enforcement. The reason why people have questions, it's not because they're politically thinking. And so when you want to question or badge anyone for politicizing anything, I think you should start with the president you support. I think you should start with Joseph Boakai, because it was Joseph Boakai who made a premature statement without any evidence whatsoever. How did you
determine that Joseph Boakai?
Let Robert finish, then you have the time.
I'm gonna say, Chief, tell me 1 second. I think this is a respectful cross talk, but I think we need to take it. Robert, how did you determine that the president did not have evidence to make that statement?
Okay, so you're asking me how did I determine that the president did not have evidence to make that statement when he made the statement on the very day in less than 30 minutes of the fire taking place? So now you tell me and you convince me what investigation or what briefing. Listen, dude. Let's not do this.
Go ahead.
You can't convince me that the president did not make a premature statement when on the very day of the fire, less than 30 minutes, not a single investigation had occurred. Not a single investigation had occurred. So again, if you don't want to politicize something at this magnitude, what you do in front of the media is we will start an investigation, and anyone found liable will be held accountable by the law. You don't preempt. You don't say, "Oh, it was hooligans." Hooligans, right, could be a founding done on a criminal case. And if you said that the president had evidences or briefings for making that statement, then we want to see that. Number two, no one is saying that the police, should not be given a chance to do his job. No one told Gregor Coleman to have a press conference and tell the world, as if we were stupid folks, that it came to the conclusion of arson based on the color of the fire. In fact, the chief had to come here today, and I'm not blaming the chief. No one will question these guys' expertise. I want to clarify, and I want to be very clear, that the fire investigation is one part of this investigation.
Okay.
My concern is the criminal investigation.
So
criminal investigation is questioning because they made a decision partly based on the initial fire investigation by the fire department in Liberia, which by Chief Perlman statement
how did you? So, Robert,
Tomalin, can I speak?
How did you determine that the president did not have initial evidence or was not briefed about this situation?
Because the investigation because the statement was made less than 30 minutes after the fire had occurred. And if you are not, unless you want to convince me,
just 1 second. Robert,
you answer this question, dude.
One second.
Dude,
You answer
this question.
1 second.
But they think
we're sitting here. I'm begging you, please, Robert. Let's do it this way, okay? You are president of the United States of America, and while you were sitting, right, there's some kind of bombing that occurs somewhere in Texas, and then you're led to come and actually give a statement. Now, let's say that you wouldn't speak directly about the issue, right? Do you think that the United States would have briefed you about what their initial beliefs are concerning that particular incident?
Listen, you cannot brief people without carrying out a thorough.
I'm asking just 1 second.
No, even if you've been.
Robert, that is correct.
You cannot convince me. You cannot convince me under no circumstances that the president has been briefed on a fire that occurred, that an investigation had not proceeded. It makes no sense. So you need to tell the president to not politicize something without an investigation properly taking place. You can't convince me that the president has been briefed and made a premature statement based on
multiple parts of
something
this
that's been said.
investigation. There's multiple parts to this investigation. It's not only about
why are these parts not being told to the general public?
Because
why are these parts not being told to the general
through
public?
a process.
There are more
All
questions
of
than
those
answers.
evidences will not be available. It is not strange. It happens.
Let Grace come in. Grace won't come in. Let Grace come in.
Look, I just don't understand why that Robert have to stay. The idea that the president made a statement, so therefore there shouldn't be any investigation. It means that automatic that the investigation is flawed. The president made that statement. Maybe he made it because the first evidences showing to this president were physical evidence. It could be that they saw that jar there, and it showed that somebody light that place up. So they say, you know what? From the physical evidence we have seen, this is arson already to us. But we will go into proper investigation after we do all our findings. You can get to a place right away and know that there's fire in that place and somebody started that fire from the evidences on the scene immediately. So the president was briefed, and he came out with that statement because he was briefed from the physical evidence at that time. So if they investigated the case and it was not arson, he was going to come back and say, well, the physical evidence show, but you can't just hold the president to the post and say, oh, because the president said that, so the investigation is not going to go through. It means that they're witch hunting or whatsoever they're doing. They're targeting one group of people. You can't do that. And then the chief firefighter, the chief fireman that came on, Mr. Parliament, I don't know what title to get him because the people have so much experience. Let me calm myself down. People have so much experience that you cannot come here and downplay their experience. This man never went to investigate or arson the investigators matter or to prosecute anybody. All he went to go determine is that what Garguah had already found that this thing was started by a person. Somebody light that place up. They just wanted to make sure it was actually the case. So they went to go do that finding. They did the finding. What Garguah will do with the finding is none of their business. Garguah at the same time already have a lot of evidence from phone records, communication on text, the physical evidence they met to the crime scene at the time they went there to add all that thing up to say, you know what? It was clarified. This thing was reviewed, and then the second opinion came in. They said this is the place was light up. Somebody light a fire there. And we have all the evidences against it. This is how the investigation starts. Physical evidence can allow them to put you in prison right away before the investigation ever starts. Especially when they have physical evidence and cell phone record in the first beginning of the case. That's just fair. But you cannot put this thing on the president and say, oh, we're not talking like partisan here. Me, I get friend in government. I don't get for him. My friend is dead set. No, I got from in government. I can still talk against the government and I can talk for when the government is doing the right thing to investigate this matter. We cannot sit here on this platform before I end and allow this thing to just go and say, oh, because our friends on the side, so they shouldn't do this. No, this is about Liberia. Let's just be clear here. There was arson at the Capitol building. The people have the findings. They have record to show they got proof evidence, physical evidence on the spot. They see that it happened. They got phone records, documentation, and everything. Some of us are privy to these things. So we just look at when people talking, we just think, it happened, and then the prosecution will go on. Who did this thing will go to prison for it. That's how I have to say.
Let me just come in, right? Let me come in. The thing is that, okay, the president, at the end of the day, the report will go to him. So I think it was premature for the president to come up when he first arrived on the scene and said and give his conclusion about this. What were the cause of the fire? That being said, I would never, and I don't think anyone of us here should ever question those who do the fire investigation.
Shani, you in like close your stuff because we're hearing you know.
We should never question them because these people are the expert. They know how to do the investigation. And also, too, I would not put Chief Parliament and his team in a position to talk about the criminal aspect of this.
Exactly. That's not the
role. The role was to come and find out what happened. What caused the fire and what the cause of the fire? But to say what are the arresting somebody, I don't think that's the role. So we're not questioning them. But
that's not the role. But Tomalin and Robert, I'll come to you all.
Lofa said something yesterday very profound. He said, take it or leave it. It was a political issue. Was a political issue. Investigation of a political issue. The issue because there were two sides that were going back and forth. And now what people are concerned about is that only one side have been going. They are going after one side. They have been.
But that question.
How you will say
how do you know that?
Yes.
Chief Parliament said that openly. We don't have. They're not going to disclose to you who they've spoken to.
But we all know who's in jail right now. Who have been arrested. You see, we know who have been arrested are people from the minority bloc.
But how sure are you that you have evidences to arrest those people?
I'm not questioning them, but what the concern people are having is that two sides were involved in having an impasse, right?
Yeah, but even if the two sides involved, it doesn't mean that two sides
even together and burn down the Capitol.
Exactly. Causing the fire.
Is that the police were in charge of the Capitol building, the protection of the Capitol building. That's what issue people are having right now.
But the thing is, police can be in charge of something and something happened there.
Yeah, but Grace, as I said again, I'm not questioning. I'm not questioning the fire. I'm not questioning the fire investigators of the professionals' work. I'm not questioning it. But what I'm just making a statement. What the people are saying, what the public are involved, what they are saying is a political issue.
It is a political issue, but I think we are in the position to help to educate the public to form and shape their views.
Charges. I mean, forensic investigation. So we're getting evidence, the person involved. But then the police, I mean, tell-lipped. They should come up and tell what they know. We can't keep on.
No. But tell me.
That Russell coming.
First and foremost,
that Russell coming real quick, dude. That Russell coming real quick. Then we'll
yeah, Russell, yeah.
But no, so the
you know, I love the Russell, even when he don't agree with me.
Look at my man Duke. Is it because you knew this was a fire, a conversation? You were red. You wrote red.
He get to go back and forth with me.
No, I'm celebrating my wolf pack, man. My wolf pack. That's it.
But man, you wolf pack, but that's my alma mater too, though, right?
Oh, really? Oh, man, you see it? Come on, man. You see that? Something in common, man. Come on. Something in common, man.
Exactly what
Yes.
Oh, man. What's up, man?
I mean, Russell,
no, my man, I got to celebrate with my brother, man. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, can I make my contribution, please?
No, wait, Johnny, wait.
No, okay, so Tomalin and Robert. So this whole thing about this stuff, we know it is political. Sadly, it's been heavily politicized, right? But to come, I mean, there are bigger issues at play, and they're playing out. To come and just hinge on, and I'm not trying to dismiss it or relegate it to the dustbin or whatever. The comment that President Barker made. President Barker is a human being, He has emotions like all of us, even though he's the president. You come, I mean, your first instinct is to say that, and to say this. And how sure are you that he's not being fed or he was not fed some information that informed what he said? And so to pin all of this on him, or because of what he said initially, to say, this stuff has been compromised because the president said this. Okay, the president said that. We brought in they brought in some esteemed investigators, experienced investigators, with almost 100 years of experience, and they came in there and the proof that indeed what the president has said is what happened. So what? So what's the point? So I don't get what you and Tomalin. I don't get the point you guys are trying to make.
Can I come on, gentlemen, please, man? You guys need to recognize from Liberia because we have energy problem, we have any problem with internet access.
No special treatment, like,
but Johnny, you're waiting now.
No empathy for Liberians. I agree. No.
Yeah, Johnny Westmore will get to you, Jack King. You Jack King Westmore, my brother.
No, I've been following you guys. I've been listening to everything.
I know, but you Jack King on the actual show. You see me, I had to wait for them to go another round before I started talking. So yeah. But here is the thing, right? There is a thing, and by the way, I like Duke. Duke inboxed me. He will come here. I know why Duke is here. So y'all leave Duke. But listen. Well, I agree with all human beings, Russell. But I think part of the reason why people have serious questions when these things happen, and we don't look at the bigger picture, is because those in charge, listen, I'm not saying the president cannot be emotional, but if the president is this emotional to make a conclusive statement without the commencement of a thorough investigation with such a huge fire, then what do you expect from you and I, who are not at the top office in the country? It is important that the president, in these cases, conduct himself at the highest level. This is the reason why he's president of the republic. Beyond that, we have one of the most experienced presidents. Joseph Boakai has been in public service for more than 42 years. So you would expect that he understands how to conduct himself, right, in these kinds of circumstances that has potential political implications. So I'm not saying because he said that somehow negate the fact that there was all sin or whatever happens to the thing. What it does, however, though, it raises question when we have people in institutions that are supposed to be functioning independently, right, coming up with conclusions similar to what the president has said before the investigation started. So I hope you understand why people who do not support the president or who may have a different political affiliation will raise question about, wait a minute, what's going on here? Number two, Chief Parliament made a very good point, and I wasn't pushing him to discuss something outside of his area. The point that I'm trying to make here is, if someone said to the police that I saw Robert and he started the fire, he said something profound I want to repeat. That is enough for the police to start an investigation on Robert. But the reason why I ask him, is it enough for the police to arrest Robert? The police might call me in for questioning, but the police cannot arrest me based on hearsay without carrying out an investigation. And so the point that I want to make is very simple. I believe that this case has been exacerbated with politics because of statements and initial decisions made, right? It is not my responsibility that the police lack the tools to carry out a thorough investigation, right? To come out with an independent conclusion. It is not my responsibility that the fire lacks the tools that they need to carry out the investigation to come out with an independent conclusion. It is the government's responsibility to do that. And so when people are raising questions, Duke, about all of these things, I'm not saying that we don't want people held accountable. All I'm saying is we don't want scapegoats. We don't want people selected based on what they heard. We don't want people selected based on what they think. We want people selected. We want people held accountable based on the facts. And so far, we have not seen the facts.
So
show me the facts, dudes. What are the facts?
Ryan, Robert, 1 second. You said something here, and I want to nail it right away.
But who's moderating this thing now?
Don't go ahead and arrest people, right? Because you think that there's some kind of hearsay or so. Let me educate you. When the young man executed the United Healthcare boss, nobody know who did it. You understand me? Police had initial idea in terms of what the potential description of somebody, a person of interest was. It took somebody of McDonald's who said they saw somebody in a belief, and police went and collected that in that individual. It initially held him, right, and charged him pending a full investigation and that entire process. Number one. Number two.
Please add, though, he was caught on camera. No, please add. No, dude, please.
Robert.
10 seconds. He was caught on camera. The person seen on camera is the same person.
Robert, I'm coming back. You said Robert.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's say that the president could have probably fine-tuned the way in which he communicated to the public. Does it still negate the fact that somebody went ahead and set the Capitol building on fire? Let's assume that the president said that, okay, you know what? Based upon somebody want to commit an arson. What the fire chief with more than 100 years of experience, his team, said here is that based upon their professional investigation, their expertise, there are indications that exactly was done. We can't just be dismissive of something because we think somebody has made an error in communicating. In addition to that, yes, you can arrest people while an investigation is going on. You know how you can do it? You can do that based upon witness statements, right? Your immediate observation. Police can do that, right? Immediate evidences provided. It could be audio, it could be video that you don't even know about, right? It could be other things that can be used. We talk about forensic investigation. What goes into a forensic investigation? Some of the same things that the present. What audio can be part of a forensic investigation. When the police released audio of this individual, what happened? Some of the people who are saying is political and are politicizing it, they went ahead and said, "Oh, the AI recording." You know, we have look. You know what's really sad? As a nation, we've become so used to the wrong things, and that when we see things that are absolutely wrong and we know the truth are there, we find a way to be in denial. So let's agree that the president did not use his experience in initially speaking to the nation on this issue and err in terms of that communication. Does it mean that an entire investigation is now out of the window because he made that error? No. You need to understand, Robert, that several components of this investigation, right? And to be able to also look at, because you know what? I know what Garguah Coleman is thinking. Look, this is a country here where people will say that, oh, anything we do, so let's bring people here, additional experts, because we already have it. I am certain that the Liberian National Police, under Garguah Coleman and other entities within our government, have overwhelming evidence, right, that involves the individuals that are being questioned, other in custody, and additional individuals that have been brought forth. And through every investigation, you're not going to take all your evidence and make it public to bring it to public. Some of these things, let me tell you this, Robert. Some of these things, you got to protect the security of the state. You will not disclose exactly methods used or certain things that you use to be able to collect information. It is evident you're not going to do it, but you will provide some of these things as the trial begins. We have audio evidences. People who don't even know how to set up the voicemail telling you, say, that AI recording. You have text messages. People who here don't even know how computer works, even the phone. Go ahead and say, oh, the government know what they're doing. You see people under this. Look, this is the problem with our country, Russell, and this is what really breaks my heart. You see a man with a vast year of experience, and you see people who don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Looking at this man who is overqualified than anybody they know, and trying to paint a picture as if he does not know what he's talking about. What does that tell you?
But dude,
no, 1 second, Robert. Let me have my shine and give it to Johnny so he can talk. Let me say this, right? Let me say this, and I'll be very, very clear about this here. We don't always have to politically agree with everybody. You know, the party is not my party. Yes, the second round supported this president. But Liberia is that ultimate factor, that one thing that all of us should be focused on. In this case, something was done at the camp, regardless of what the political tension was. Somebody did something. And if the government of Liberia can do everything to hold those people accountable, we welcome it, and we welcome all of the investigation that's been done. And we should not sit here and try to dog down people and say that you cannot hold these people accountable because you think somebody erred on the statement. It is wrong. They deserve to be arrested. Some of the individuals who are in custody admitted to police that they were part of it. They went and discussed with police how it was done, and they implicated additional information. So you tell me that those people should not be held and it should be released into the public?
Johnny will come in. Let me remind Duke that this was the same justice system that wasted taxpayer money on a flimsy prosecution of Alice Comey, a good man that you supported them.
That is another topic. One second.
Duke. This is the same justice statement. May I also remind you that, Duke, no one is questioning. Duke, wait now.
Johnny coming.
You're
not being fair to me.
It does not mean that we should not listen to the credibility of competent people.
Johnny coming.
Okay, you know what, Johnny? Johnny coming. I'll go after Johnny. Johnny, go ahead.
No, I'm after Johnny.
No, my sister, give me 30 seconds, please. Johnny, go ahead. Grace, I got something for
okay,
so after Johnny.
Okay, so here's my point. I mean, I followed the show. Let me say, Hi to everybody. I've been out for a while and I'll keep being on because of what I'm going through. But briefly, let me say something here. We listened to the expert from the fire department in the US. He clearly indicated that the work that was done in Liberia a few days ago, and from the observation, the LMP and Liberia Fire Service do not have the capacity to conduct fire disaster or fire or evidence collection, right? Now,
No, that
if
was
we
not the
hold,
case.
That's what
Can
he
you
said.
explain
Let
to me
it
what
let
he
it man
said?
talk, Grace.
No, I would explain.
listen, listen, I follow carefully. He made reference that he said it over and over
Chris,
that.
let him land. Chris, let him land.
Can you please? Yeah, please.
Information to focus on, just listen to
It is not, hey man.
Go ahead,
Great, please. I listened to the show from the beginning to up to now. It's just I couldn't join you guys because of internet. The mayor indicated over and over that from their observation, the LMP and the fire service do not have the capacity to conduct a forensic investigation with fire, because he referenced then they were even using 30-year plus method of fire investigation. Now,
exactly the
the
forensic
point I want to make here is that if you're using an archaic method of fire investigation, how authentic is that evidence that you're using to declare that something that happened is arson? Now, in criminal science, to label a charge is not a problem, but to link the charge to the elements that constitute the offense. So if you said arson, you got to try to identify the elements that constitute arson.
So
And
Johnny,
if you don't have the capacity,
said that everything that they said was right. So what's your point?
To let him land now.
just give me a chance. So listen, if the LMP and the fire service that had established some level of reason, probable cause to conduct investigation and prosecute people to court, and today we see the fire expert come and say your method of evidence collection is archaic. That no modern fire fighting or criminal charge or fight we accept that kind of evidence that you're using. So then where are we? So then that means that our fire service and the LMP evidence they have collected previously to do prosecution, they don't hold water at all in this process. So we now have to either rely.
You missed what the man said though. Then I'll go analysis
people, but you let Johnny land now. But is it 2-on-1? Dude, don't let the man land now.
You're not listening to what I fire chief said, man.
Dude, let the man land.
Of that man, though.
Johnny
because
land,
what you're doing is just distorting. That's incorrect.
Grace, you talk more than everybody on this show. I've been following you from the beginning. So, but look, listen now. Let me make the point. So the point is, if again I will say, and the fire service expert said it. So our fire service, our police do not have the capacity to collect evidence on this matter. So how strong is what they have now to prosecute the people they have arrested? Now, our current fire service evidence we acquired from the guy from the US is telling us that it was incendiary. What constitutes incendiary to prosecute you guys for the charges they have now? So for me, I want to discuss politics. I want to discuss scientific issue. I'm not discussing politics. This is scientific. Firefighting, fire investigation is scientific. You understand? It's scientific. So it's not about politics. I'm not trying to put blame on anybody. I'm saying the process that we are experiencing now, how authentic it is that we rely on our fire service and our police evidence they have collected so far in the absence of what we gather from our experts from the US.
Okay, Grace. I guess you're not going to give me time, so I'll let you speak after y'all talk.
Yeah.
But the thing I get for you, you're not getting no more.
Give me your own time too.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead. Because Mrs. Anderson.
Y'all don't just listen. You know that people always used to say that thing before. Most Liberians, they listen to respond.
Be careful.
You don't have to listen to understand and comprehend. The fire chief sat on the platform. He said, Liberia do not have the forensic equipment. They do not have the forensic, whatsoever they needed to do on that end for the investigation. So when they started to go back 30 years and say the smoke in the air determined that it was arson, that is wrong. But the thing is that's the reason why the director or general brought in these people to make sure that they have the right investigation properly done, that this fire was started by someone. That's the establishment right there. Although the director general knew that the fire was started by someone because equipment on the fire scene and you know the different things they found there show that this fire was started, but they needed real evidence from people that well equipped. That the people even carry equipment that I forgot to ask the fire chief whether they use the equipment that they took to Liberia. But that's the part that Liberia don't have, which is bad. We're not condoning it. They're supposed to have that. The government have filled the people or 30 years back, maybe 40, they have filled the people to the T because we're supposed to be well equipped when it comes to this. But doesn't mean that fire was not started by someone. And then compared to the evidence that the fire chief has and Garguah Como they established on the scene means that somebody started that fire and going through the information that Director Como didn't have, it means that it was arson. So people were arrested even before that forensic stuff, whatsoever they wanted to claim it was done there, was done. So if you come, somebody left fire in your kitchen. The man explained the thing. It was so simple. I don't know how you didn't get it. Somebody light fire in the kitchen. When the firefighter come to your house, they will know that there was a frying pan on the stove and maybe oil was in that frying pan and blew up. That was started that fire. So Garguah Como already established that particular information before those firefighters, then the fire chief ever went to Liberia. But they just wanted to know the nitty-gritty of what really caused the fire, although they had some evidences on, but they wanted to be sure. Now, with all the evidences they have, with all these text messages, voice recording messages, and all those things, that's why other people were arrested and put in prison. And you said, oh, the member is about Robert was saying, the fire chief made an example, say, oh, somebody saw somebody going to somebody's house and they called them for investigation. Say it's not enough. It is enough because if they call them for investigation, depends on the investigation that went on in the room that day. Maybe they implicated themselves so that they could have arrested them and put them in prison. So we shouldn't politicize this thing. There was an arson at that Capitol building. Whosoever responsible for it should be prosecuted. Police can be to places at a particular time, and crimes can still go on to those places and the police don't see it. UPMC hospital in my area. This man his wife was in the hospital, and in his mind, he felt that the people did not get his wife proper care, and his wife died in the hospital. That man passed security and nobody knew. The people got scared out there, nobody knew. He passed security and went in the hospital and shot up people, and even killed the police officer, one of the police officers that were there on the scene. So we should not do this thing with this whole policy, my friend. Liberians, we are so cold. We are so the family ties is so tight. Tribalism, policy, all out together. We destroy our country when we do that. When it comes to this kind of thing, we have to be fair enough.
Let me, dude,
you always going for it.
No. You spoke. No, dude, Damatan. No, wait, dude, hold on, Damatan. Dude, hold on, dude.
You're talking hell of everybody.
Hold on, my brother, dude, don't do this.
Go ahead and break your comment.
Let
Go
me
ahead, I'm following.
So, Grace, everything that you said, right? I think we're confusing all of this stuff. Everything. Do you have your time, man? You're shy. Don't worry. You're on national radio. everything that you said, I agree with.
People tell you to defend.
You said the fire was started by someone. Listen, I don't think that there's no Liberian, irrespective of political affiliation, do not want to see some level of accountability yet. It doesn't matter who you support. When someone does wrong, what we want to see is accountability. What we don't want to see, right, is the mistreatment of justice. We don't want the wrong folks being held accountable for things that they did not do.
How do you determine that the wrong folks are being held accountable?
Listen, I'm not saying the guys.
No, don't talk in circles. How did you determine that the wrong folks are being held accountable? What do you have in your possession that the Liberian police who are in charge of this investigation do not have that makes you to think that the people who are being held accountable are the wrong people?
Okay, so
should you be calling for questioning? Maybe you know something that the
Okay,
police
so
don't know.
Duke, let me land now, my brother. Let me land. I'm good at this thing.
I'm just saying, we're using it both ways.
I'll talk me.
You know
But let me
something
land,
that
Duke.
Brother Coleman does not
I want
know,
the
and you
audience.
can actually lend your voice to the police, the national police,
I
maybe.
want the audience to understand our point. So I don't want us to go back and forth where we're both talking at the same time. That's the reason why, because the audience we're doing a disservice to the audience. But I'm not saying that those that have been arrested are the wrong folks. I'm generally speaking that based on everything that we've heard, they could possibly be the wrong folks. This is the reason why investigations, credible investigations, are important. Now, when you made the analogy, Duke, about the young man who got arrested when the CEO got shot, I think you're doing a disservice to Liberia because it does not even compare. The police, I believe, in my opinion, and by the way, even though they have not released all of the evidences that they could possibly release in court during a prosecution, they have given the public enough information to believe that the guy that is currently in prison is a suspect, right? Because one, the person in prison resembled the person that have been shown on video. Now, the guys in prison in Liberia, have they been seen on video burning or carrying out the crime in any fashion as this person was seen on video shooting the CEO? No. And so when we make these analogies and these comparisons, it's important for us to consider all of the facts and the circumstances here. I would not question the police for holding this suspect. He's still a suspect. He's been charged. He's not guilty of a crime. He's been charged. But based on what they've seen so far, it's enough. Even me, I'm not saying he's guilty, but based on what they had press conferences where they share additional information about this guy. The bag was found. The same bag saw on video was saw on his back. And so there are a lot of different intricacy that points to the possibility of this guy being responsible for the crime he alleged to have committed. Liberia is a totally different situation. But let me close on this note so you can come in, other guys can come in. We want accountability, but accountability can only happen when we have done our due diligence independently and respectfully. And that's the concern that many have right now. No one on this platform will ever question the fire chief's investigation or the expertise. My issue is with the criminal investigation. And because the criminal investigation aligns with the fire investigation, which has been condemned and basically trashed by Chief Parliament, the same one you upheld, you held in here, it raises question. It raises serious question. And when I mentioned earlier about the Justice Department, Duke, when I mentioned about Cummings and the Justice Department, I'm not saying this is the same issue. What I'm saying is, for many, many years, we have politicized things for political reasons. For many years, our justice departments have taken up cases purely based on politics and not based on facts and the truth. When Alex Cummings was prosecuted, you, my friend, frowned on it. It wasn't because you believed that the police did not do their job or because they didn't have competent people in the police, because we all agreed, even those that did not support Cummings, that this was more a political case than it was one that really wanted facts and truth. And so when people have reservations about any case for that matter, I think it's important for you, my friend, on the other side with a different perspective, to respect and listen to their concern, because you once had those concerns, and those concerns were based on politics. This case is political. And so those expressing serious reservations about this case, and the facts already, I think they have a legitimate point already. They have a legitimate point that should be respected and listened to.
Let me chime in quick, right?
But Chief Tomalin,
you guys gonna talk.
Whenever that talk is only appropriate that directly address the
situation. Let me just come in quick now.
Before you de-escalate the conversation.
Okay, guys, I will say again, right? The professionals that want to do the investigation, I respect them, and their findings about it is no rocket science. Someone burned the building. Exactly. Electrical fault. So their findings, I support their findings. Yes. But yeah, my concern though, I'm sitting here now. Somebody just told me that one of the reasons why they're accusing the building was burned was because they were afraid that if they are audited, if the audit have gone through, documents would have been found. people would have been caught. So they are accusing the other side, so the other side was the one that they were the one that initiated this fire. So you see what we're coming from, what's happening?
Yeah, so
the investigation done by the professionals, they established that somebody burned this place. It wasn't the electrical fault. So it was somebody did it. But now the issue about the criminality now is that the other side is saying, look, because they were afraid that the other were going to link some of the people on the majority Black Star, that's why they caused the fire. So now, how do we break that cycle to find out what really happened?
If the other side defense is based upon a speculative argument that the building was burned by the other side because they didn't want the place to be audited, that's one of the weakest form of defense I've ever seen. But they can bring the evidence on there, right? Let me just speak to Robert here. I want to address the Alex Cummings case. Robert, when Mr. Cummings was brought up, by a few individuals, by the way, some of them who were actually part of this particular case, by the way, and the Kofa, who said now he's fighting to stand up for justice and sat there when Alex Cummings' name was being ruined in the mud and didn't have the spine to speak on that behalf, right? It's the Kofa that's being implicated here. So I don't even want you to reference the name Alex Cummings and Kofa who sponsored the burning of the Capitol building in the same sentence. Let me say this to you.
What facts do you have that he's co-sponsored?
Just 1 second. I'm speaking. Just give me a chance.
What facts do you have that he co-sponsored the burning?
I'm coming there.
Dude, what facts do you have he co-sponsored?
And I'm speaking. All right. First and foremost,
man, do give my Wolfpack brother hot time.
Alice Cummings.
Getting hot time. Now why you getting for? I was getting hot time.
You know, for A. Robert Garguah. Alice Cummings brought in an expert, like the Liberian government decided to bring in a fire expert. You know why? A forensic expert to look at the government documents, right? And to say, based upon this, here's what we see. And based upon the expertise of the firm that was hired, the government realized that they did not have a chance to fight that case. That's what smart people do. The government in this case brought an expert. They said, look, here are our initial assertions. We have overwhelming evidence, but we want to make this colorful because we know we have a society of people who will try to politicize. So let's make it look colorful and bring people in to further the conversation and add more value to what we have in terms of the overwhelming evidence. And you brought an expert team with over 100 years in that area. What did they say? The same thing that we've been hearing over and over. You understand me? So the Alice Cummings case, don't even bring it up. Here is the problem here, Robert, and why I said, Kofa, look, all of us been struggling within this political space. On the back end, we know the kind of conversations people have. We know how people get heated, and we know how some people want to take immediate action. What happened is that two sides had a disagreement. One side could not accept the fact that things were going the other way, and they escalated into something. Based upon the evidence and the initial audios that we've heard, ties the former speaker to that particular conversation, because on that audio that was released by the government of Liberia, and Robert, don't come here with your stuff. We're using what the government have presented. If the other side disagrees, let them bring the evidence and let people go ahead. The government of Liberia, through the recent court proceedings, brought forth evidences in terms of audio. You talk about the guy who assassinated or killed the United Healthcare boss, and you said they saw him come out listening. His face was not identified. They saw somebody wearing a clothes. 1 second, initially, and based upon that, right? They said we have a person of interest, right? The same way the government of Liberia saw visuals of people working like Grace said earlier here. They saw individuals, they saw audio, they have some other things and stuff. They said, based upon this, we think we have an idea in terms of who are connected to this. But you would take a visual from the United Healthcare incident and plug it in, try to reference it, and try to do all the stuff you want to do. But you downplay the initial evidences that have been produced. In fact, you're not even talking about them. You're focusing on the errors of the president because the president did not use a more lettered way of addressing the Liberian public at the onset of that particular incident there, right? That's a problem. So, look, you can say all you want. Let me just go back to this point here, Robert. something happened at the Capitol building. Somebody went to pour gas on that building and burned it now, right? Those individuals that are in police custody have been tied to that particular incident. There's been overwhelming incident, and you heard it from the guy. It's funny that you will reference this man and you will trust his points on the fact that he said that the fire department is behind 30 years. But you will not acknowledge that he said in the same breath that based upon what he said, even though he cannot speak to those evidence, that the government's got overwhelming evidence. Did you miss that part? He said it on the show tonight. He said he has seen, based upon what he has seen, the government's got overwhelming initial evidence, and what he went there to do was just an addition to present an expert point of view on the fire incident. So how can we continue to be dismissive? Now, I understand the urge to want to make sure that you're listening to everything the government's got. Some of those stuff will have to be scrubbed, and eventually we'll continue to make it visible as well. And I'm sure those people who are close to the investigation, like the fire chief said, and that man with his credibility will not say the government's got overwhelming evidence, even though he cannot speak to this evidence. He wouldn't say it with credibility. No, he knows that, and he said it. So, look, it's a political issue. I agree with you, Robert, when you said in the beginning it was a political issue, but it does not negate the fact that amidst the political issue, somebody did something. And Robert, look, let me tell you this. Going forward, I'll be honest with you, I don't want anything to do with any political party in Liberia. I've told you that before. And the reason why I just want to be myself and continue to be, I think the time has run up for me to be part of any political parties, and that's just personal, and I just want to. But if we all are really focused on Liberia progressing in the way that we think, even though there has been a little bit of errors along the way in terms of the way we're addressing certain things, but we must commend the fact that somebody is starting to do something. Now, the consistency will matter, but this is what I respect. We need to get to the bottom of this. If people are held accountable, let them be held accountable. Yes, the government of Liberia should continue to provide the necessary clarity, and they will do that. But with all that we've seen, Robert, the audio evidences, the issue of text messages, the issue of other things that have been, some things that cannot be even disclosed, like the fire chief said here, and some things people who are in close proximity to the government and people in there will say and stuff. At the end of the day, you already know. Robert, you're trying to create a talking point here, and I totally understand.
Let me just say something quickly before I go off.
I think your time is up for how they call him.
Grace, give me 30 seconds.
Let me just say something quick before I go off. Let me just say something to all of us here and the public. Like, just mark today. I can assure all of you here, this fire trial that's going on, the Liberian government will lose the case. I can just take my word today.
So how now? You gotta
because listen, the reason is this, right? Listen, the reason is that I'm not backing about it. I'm looking at the system that we're talking about right now. The fire professional just told us the problem with our system. And in criminal investigation, evidence collection, evidence preservation, evidence presentation are key. And that's why most times our government prosecution most times lost criminal cases in the court, because in the event of to prove your case beyond all reasonable doubt, I see that in this case, with lack of capacity and fire investigation is very critical than ordinary criminal trial. I see that our government will try her best, but they will not win a case on basis of what? Doubt. There will be doubt. There are a lot of doubts in the process that will lead to the guys that they have accused that is trying now to be set free. John Magma, thank you.
Thank you.
Johnny, how many evidences are these people looking at?
Please allow me, please. I beg you. Please allow
I'm
me.
not supposed to speak.
No, you will speak after me. Just allow me. I don't want to lose my train of thought, please. So Duke, listen. Let me reiterate what I said. Someone caused the fire, and you, me, Grace, every Liberian who wants accountability wants someone who caused the fire to be held accountable. This is the reason why, again, we continue to pound the importance of ensuring that thorough investigations and facts point to the direction of those who are held accountable. I think it's contradicting for you to say that we cannot just make statements, or the president was informed when he made the statement he made. But on this very platform you just said, I don't want the public to miss that that Fanati Kofa supported the burning of the fire. So if Fanati Kofa supported the burning of the fire, right? And if you agree with the chief that if someone saw Robert or told the police, yes, I saw Robert burn this house without any video, without any substantial evidence to substantiate what that person just said, if you think that's enough evidence, not just to start an investigation, but to arrest, charge, and begin the proceeding of prosecution.
So the audio with Fanati on it, the audio with Fanati on it is not something that can be used, right?
We know.
So hold up.
Duke,
Robert,
let me lose my train of thought, Duke, please.
Robert, no, but you are
speak.
confusing the audience. Are you saying, because I'm not just making a blanket statement, I'm saying based upon the initial audio evidence that was introduced by the government of Liberia, implicates Fanati Kofa. And the reason, listen, he's being questioned for a reason. There's a reason why he was invited to the Liberian National Police headquarters. Why was he invited? Was he invited based upon audio evidence and witness people tied to the case implicating him in it?
Okay.
Can you allow Robert to
finish? Duke, I allow you as such a person to listen. It's important that the audience listen to what we're saying without being interrupted so that they understand our point, Duke. Because I can go, I want to interject. I can go back and forth with you.
I want to empathy that talk, my man.
But it's important that with the audience listen to us, right? The reason why Fanati Kofa, I think the reason why Fanati Kofa was invited was because, again, based on the fire investigation conclusion that the fire happened close to his office, right? I have not heard any other evidence, anything that's substantial enough that incriminates him or that definitively says, like you just said, that he's involved. Now,
but you have to wait for the investigation.
But I agree, Grace. This is the reason why, again, you're making my point. The point that I and others continue to make is not one that is political. And I will say this: the people who have politicized this are those in power, are those who have been clothed with the responsibility to ensure that the public, the general public, earned their respect. And with regards to the professionalism.
So how did you
I did not. If I believe that the same way, based on all of the initial evidences, the same way Fanati Kofa was invited for question. It's nothing. Fanati Kofa is not a suspect. The same way he was invited for questioning based on the police, the fire investigation. I believe it's the same way those who are currently have been charged and are currently incarcerated should have been invited for questioning pending the conclusion of a thorough investigation. Now, when you have all of these things going on, listen, the president, George Weah, when I remember vividly in Duke, he was on this very platform denouncing and basically bashing the president when he said in a statement that a lot of people did not agree with regards to the death of the auditors. Anyone will argue based on your argument now that the president was briefed to make a premature statement of, no, Duke, don't do this. Don't do this, Duke. 1 second. Duke, 1 second. Duke, 1 second. Don't do it. Don't do it. 1 second. Don't do
Robert,
don't do this.
Did you listen to the government audio?
Duke.
Robert.
Anyone
we listen, Duke. Did you listen to the government audio?
Man. The conversation cannot go this way because, again, it defeats the purpose, Duke. Let me land, then I will stop, then you can come in so everyone understands our point.
No, but the two of you can't just be going on.
Yeah, but I've been interrupted. And so I've been interrupted. And so, again, a lot of people who did not support George Weah thought that was a political statement and it was insensitive. But like you argue right now, Sidisha can argue, well, Duke, you don't know how the president was briefed. The president probably made that comment based on information provided to him, right? Even though we don't know what those informations are. The bottom line here is very simple, Duke. No one is arguing that there should be no accountability. No one is arguing that the government should not investigate. No one is saying that people who caused the fire should not be held accountable. We all want accountability. What we don't want and what we have spoken against is one that is centered around politics rather than facts and true hardcore evidences. And if you must convince the general public that you are on the right side of history, that you in fact have enough evidences to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in court that these folks that have been charged are the right folks, then it is incumbent upon you to conduct yourself accordingly. Why has the police not? Gregor Coleman had a press conference. Gregor Coleman had a press conference. He said to us that the reason why he came on the charge was because the color of the fire. Why? So that they can release certain things to say, you know what? These guys are held accountable. Do you not know that people have issues with voice recordings in Liberia? Is it every voice recording that proves that this person is the voice?
When the chief
Come
said,
on, man.
The
government audio cannot be one that is credible. It's not evidence in court.
Robert, you done? Okay. Siddiqui, welcome to the platform. I was speaking, and Siddiqui will come in there. Johnny will come in there too. You know, the two of you can come back in. Look, the president spoke prematurely. We understand that. I keep on seeing it over and over. He's a human being. Besides that, Brempo for the older man to power. So those things happen sometimes. You just have to. I mean, he said what he had to say. I'm sure he was brief a little bit, and he was giving some information because I will say again, the evidences that was on the physical evidence from the crime scene, the people, it was overwhelmingly that somebody lit that fire. Now we don't know who. The government is still investigating that case. I'm not going to go back and forth and say, oh, it was on the other side, like Brent, they are divided the country into sides. On the other side, the people blaming the person on the other side, everybody going back and forth. It's not fair to the country for us to do that. Liberia is lacking behind because of the way we do things, the way we see things. When something is wrong, it's wrong. We have to stand the ground and say, you know what, this thing, somebody started the fire. If the police director and his investigation team has evidence, they will investigate the case. The people in custody are sure, I am so very sure that Director Kuma will never put somebody into custody if they never have evidence that that person was kind of involved within the burning of that Capitol building. So it would be so wrong for him to do that. And then after the investigation comes out, if he did that, the people will go after the government for doing that to that particular person. So I don't think that man will do that. He has so much experience, as they say. That's why he got into that position. He lives here. He used to live here in America, so he has vast experience on how investigation is done. He went to train like Brazilian mental school to do certification courses on all these things. So we have to wait and see what happened at the end of this investigation. And we have to be sure that our police director and all the people involved in this investigation have evidence to show that these people that are arrested, there was a reason why they kept them into custody, because the arrest on them is overwhelming and they cannot let them go right now until the investigation is properly done. These things are done in other countries. Like we have to graduate from this state where we always have to pick sides because of political party. Especially we in the diaspora, we have destroyed the country in this aspect. It's just it's so sad. Jeremiah Kunja entered this country. All the things that are going on in Liberia. Let's see, Liberian people want to welcome him overwhelmingly. They claim that everything bad in the country and this, that, the other. They went to welcome him overwhelmingly to tell him thank you for coming to America as a vice president. Y'all just yes, y'all don't know what y'all want. There's any point. So like that, we have to wait for the investigation. I'm not going to hold this government responsible or anything until I hear the end of this investigation when it's done properly. And Raul, you can't compare apples to oranges. Judge we have made a statement on people that were killed in a car, a mother with her children, and a man who had his family and said they were doing lovey-dovey that had to die in that car. So therefore, people had to come after them because people from here were attacked in a wrongful way. You can't compare this to what the president had, at least some physical evidence on the crime. The people briefing and he said this thing, it was arson, and then you compare the two and say, oh no, they blame the other person and they didn't blame it. We need to stop this thing unless this generation X, like our generation, we lost almost everything in our country. We're young children, they're working, they took everything from us. We had to fend for ourselves. We lost our parents, we lost our families, so we ain't got no family. We are the same people, this generation X, that is destroying our world today.
Yeah.
We are the same people that do it. And it's sad for us to see us doing this thing to the future generation and the younger children that are coming up, to the Z generation, the whatsoever, the rest of the generation that are coming up. It's sad for us to continue to do this because it's like, I don't understand how you can come to this advanced country and still cannot sit down and say, you know what, this thing is wrong, and we have to stand and we have to wait for the investigation to happen just because of partisan and on this side and on this side. Yeah, y'all are cowards. I'm sorry to say that.
Grace, I got something on a group study tonight, and I just wanted something because I have to something. I want to say first and foremost, whenever we're available, we'll come on the show and talk. Today just happened to be a time that I have it, and see he can come in. This is never about supporting individual political parties and ties. I've said it before. After the election, I'm totally on my own, focus on doing what I need to do in my own capacity. But we're seeing this continued pattern. And at some point in time, it has to stop. Sometimes some of our dreams have been possibly the individuals that we supported being the authors of that change, or the people who are tasked with implementing the kind of change that we wanted, but it doesn't happen. When we are opportune to see the efforts of any institution geared towards solving some of the things that we have concerns about, and I think as Liberians, we're supposed to be together in that process and make sure we're giving them the chance to do so. This is the case. Regardless of how we feel politically, something happened at that Capitol building. Regardless of who you support and what kind of argument you want to bring to defend your side, something happened. And if the government is doing what it's supposed to do as a government to make sure we get to the bottom of it, and yes, there will be concerns, there will be people who want clarity, and I understand the lack of faith in the justice system and some of the things that happened in the past that have created these doubts. But today, some of the people who are even talking about these doubts were people who were defending the same justice system before, and some of the characters. Today, the co-founder now who's on the other arm of the justice system was the same one that sat in the position of prominence when Cummings were getting dragged around, and it was not courageous enough to speak to that issue. So I think we need to start from somewhere. The government is doing its due diligence. The government is doing all it needs to do to be able to present all of the facts. We support them from the beginning. I mean, there's some things that they could have done different, we agree, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they've actually been doing all they could to provide the necessary evidence. They talked about audios, they talk about text messaging, they talk about WhatsApp access, they talk about visuals, right? They talk about individuals who were questioned and actually made statements that tie others to this particular case. We cannot overlook that. Tonight, the fire chief stated, that, look, even though I acknowledge the challenges and I see that all of these challenges and stuff is the result of certain things, but based upon my expertise, his expertise, as he quoted, that all of the things that he saw when they did the investigation pointed to what everybody's been saying in the government. So if we can say that, the man said the initial investigation, they did it in the old way, but then we can acknowledge the fact that he said everything there, after, it just shows that people are just trying to pick points to support their own argument. So look, at the end of the day, we have all right to question our government. We have all right to be supportive if they're doing the right thing. But one thing we should not do is compromise Liberia just because we need to fit through. Something happened. Some people took matters into their own hands before other people have gotten away from it. And in this case, people thought that it was just going to be one of those situations that when it happened, everybody would go by the business, but the government is serious about picking it up. And unfortunately, embarrassingly for certain individuals, we're going to come to the point where they have implicated themselves into something that could have easily been resolved. So commend the efforts of government. Let's continue to talk on the issue. My people, I thank you for being a closer argument. We'll continue to lend our low voices and stuff to make sense when it's necessary. Siddiqui can take over from there. And Grace, thank you as well.
Thank you. Siddiqui, thank you for coming on. You can speak, and then Johnny will speak.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Grace. Sorry I came on late. Been doing some work here, in the back. But I've been listening to the show, just one or 2 points I just want to make quick. And, I understand my brother Duke said he had a meeting that he needed to run to. But I really wanted him to stay on because I have a comment and a question that I wanted him to answer. But I'm very, very sure that he'll be following. So maybe I can just make a comment, after I made my point clear. So here is the thing about this fire incident. One thing caused this fire, the Capitol building to burn. And Liberians got to understand this. And what is that? it is a dispute or the disagreement about removing Speaker Kufa. You know, two group of lawmakers call themselves majority bloc and minority bloc. So that existed at the grounds of the Capitol building. That two groups existed. And so they went to court, the court gave an opinion, and then certain group of people decided to ignore the Supreme Court ruling and all of that. And then the next thing we saw the Capitol building point. Now, the day that incident occurred, the president came on the grounds of the Capitol building, and then the president, made a definite statement that it was hooligans who burned down the Capitol building, and he was very direct. The president accused people without government initiating any investigation. Now, the police, the Liberia National Police, since that morning the president made that statement, the police initiated investigation. Since that day till now, all the people who have been invited by the Liberia National Police are people that the president statement went against. And so, we got to be fair in this thing. Those two lawmakers.
So the president's statement went against who now? Because the
minority bloc.
So he said the minority bloc.
The president, Grace, the president.
That should be clear because we want to make sure the information is sound. Because
I understand that.
The president said the majority black were hooligans. He said there were hooligans responsible for the accident. He said because people who go and point out such a building, they are hooligans. Let's just be clear.
Of course.
But he never said the majority black were hooligans.
It could be remembered and Grace. Remember, before that fire incident, there were electrical fraud where everybody see, I don't know, see some breaker or whatever it is, that caused fire, but it was not major compared to the last one we all saw. So for the president to even come and say, look, it was hooligan who burned down the Capitol building, that was premature. It was not even mature.
We all agreed to that. It was premature that the president
okay,
said
so
that.
So
but
now,
to the president had briefing and they told him that the Capitol building was burned down. And with all the commotion in the country, you would think that somebody did it on purpose.
So now you assuming, Grace, let me just
Yeah.
You assuming you said the president were how they call it, the briefing before he came to the grounds of the Capitol building. If that is the case, I would like to know, what are the briefing that the president, because
there was
the
briefing to the president
people,
that was, they said on the crime scene there was physical evidence like tools, materials used to start a fire. So it means that there was a fire started. So
who made that briefing? Who made that briefing to the president?
And whosoever burned the place, they were hooligans that did it because no person in the rightful mind will go because they buy something and go and light fire on the Capitol building that we now building our forefathers then built with so much money.
The question is,
so they were hooligans, but the president never referred the people as hooligans on the majority or the minority side. He did not do that. So we cannot say that here.
Okay, so now I hear you reading something from the people there. I don't know if that's a briefing you're trying to read.
I am not reading from any paper. I am here texting people who texting me. I communicate. I'm a person. I can do two things at the same time. So I
just wanted to make sure. I thought there's a report. I thought there's a report you are trying to read from where people
I'm not reading for the report. Just saying
let me just make my point, Grace. I just came on. So
I understand you want to make your point, but you must give good information here. You don't want to.
Of course, I'm giving good information. Everyone you're listening.
One president or the country said that the minority black or hooligan. The man never said that.
No, I didn't say that.
Part of the UP government, but I will not sit down here and allow you to say it.
Okay, so Grace, everybody are listening to me. I didn't say the president said the minority black are hooligans. I didn't say that. I said when the fire, burned down the Capitol building that morning, the president came and he was very, very direct. The president said hooligans burned down the Capitol building without the police initiating or investigation. And right after the president's statement, the president, at the closing of that statement on the grounds of the Capitol building, the president instructed the justice minister and the police to do a tough investigation. He did that. And so since that morning to today, the police have been calling people of interest people they will call for questioning. I'm saying to you, and this is a fact, Chris, all the people the police have invited to the Liberia National Police Headquarters, they are members of the minority bloc. And we have two blocks, we have two groups of people.
The police, we don't have to.
You understand? We have two groups of people that caused the Capitol building to burn.
We do not have
So
to.
how come now you are calling people of interest, but only one group of people you keep calling for?
How sure are you the police don't have evidence to call those people for interest? You remember here that text
have they called any of them? Have they called anybody
messages
from the majority bloc?
The people got people got some
So,
information.
okay, so let me just conclude on this and go to the comment I wanted to make towards my brother. So let me conclude on this. So to conclude, I think this fire thing, nothing's going to come out of it. The government, compromise their own case, whatever it is, and I hear my brother Duke talk about, the government get all the evidence, they get all the evidence. They went to court. That all the evidence, they didn't show it to the court. Look, Duke, I respect you a lot. I know you mean well for Liberia. You're my big brother. We worked together in the last election. But let me make this clear to you, Duke. I follow you every day. I follow your comment on Facebook, and this is what I see, Duke. Election is over. And this belief that you carry, Duke, that all the people who supported Georgia second round, they don't have right to speak in Liberia is wrong. It's wrong, my brother. You supported Joseph Barker, that's your right. Nobody's stopping you from speaking. But this belief that you try to put out there, that once you support Georgia in the country, your right to speak have been seized from you. That is a wrong narrative, my brother.
That one, but you need to inbox. You need to inbox in other information. What we
I'm coming.
What we seem to you is that.
No, but let me
speak your own. You can say your own.
Let me end my thought, Chris. I just told you I concluded on our topic already. I don't want us going back and forth. What I said about that fire stuff is a fact. There are two group of people that were.
You saying nothing will come out of the investigation, and that's why you do all the time. That's why Liberia can never be free.
Of course, nothing will come. Not me, Chris. It's not me.
So the
it's not
the people who did this, and we're not
Chris.
going to pay for that.
Chris.
Destroy Liberia. You'll continue to do these things. Somebody started that fire. The investigation will be done. They will be found guilty, and they will go to prison for starting that fire on the capital of Liberia. That's what we are seeing here. Somebody started that fire.
Don't. Grace, you gotta have to say something.
Yeah, this is I don't really know. Yeah, I don't like to be going back and forth.
Go ahead, answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I deserve some tolerance. I listen to you. You speak. You give me a chance to speak. You see. So what I'm trying to say here, don't give me something. Don't give me a power that I don't deserve. How you will say that what you can do? Do I have power to stop? The position the government will come up with. I don't have that power. I'm just an individual, Grace. I'm nobody in Liberia. I'm just a citizen. Giving my opinion on this. So don't say that what you do, you can make it no judge can come to the country. I don't have power to make judges to not come to the country. I don't have that power, Grace. So let's I know you're too emotional about these things, but just give me time. Let me end on this. What I try to say here, Grace.
There's nothing to do with emotions.
But you don't want to give me chance. So
let me talk, man. Grace, so we can say something.
Destroy the country to the core. There will be an investigation. Something will come out of this. So don't say nothing will come out of this. Something will come, because if you say that people who support you, if something comes out of this, they will say Sidiki said on the platform that nothing will come out of this, and the people wrong people.
So even if I say and nothing come out of it, so what it means that? That's a reality. If I say nothing come out of it, and actually we maybe in a year to come, or in 2 years to come, nothing come out of it. So what's the difference? What's the difference? Or even if I say nothing come out of it, does it mean that nothing will come out of it? That's my opinion. I don't have the power. Don't give me something I don't deserve, Grace. That's my point.
Grace, let me call you, man. Let me call you now.
Yeah, let me aim my thought now. I've not seen anything. Cutting me off. So my point I try to make here, especially to my brother too, elections are over. We all supported our candidate. The candidate could not win. And then some of us decided to stay neutral. Some people went to Georgia. Some people supported Joseph Barker, including you, Duke. But this narrative that all the people who supported that they are right to speak for their country, they have lost that right. simply because they supported we are. That's a wrong thing, my brother. You know, you come and say, oh, how Robert got to know that, you know, how they call it, the police, you know, the police got to make sure we have a fair trial other than what we are saying now. Then you say, how the man got to know? How you got to know? You're talking about recording. The police, the people they were arrested from Fonati office, they took them to court. The police, the recording, you talking about Duke, they could not go to the court and say, this is a recording we got against those people. They could not play the recording. But only you and other United Partisans, that one they call Abdullah Mohammed, who is taking money from various agencies to come and defend the government, you know, on Facebook. So, people will even play that recording on Spoon TV. You know, and nobody question you for that. So for me, I think, my brother, you know, let's respect everybody's view, whether they are seditions. Look, if you are trying to judge people by their past performances in leadership of the country, then we should tell United Party people to shut up. Liberia should not have voted the United Party into office. Because you know why? You've been led that country for 12 years. CDC only ruled for 6 years. So 12 years and 6 years, what's the difference? We have 6 year differences there. But if the Liberia people could look at Joseph Boakai and the Unity Party and bring them back to power after that 12 years leadership with nothing to show on the country in terms of everything you can think about, they bring them back to power. Then what more about CDC? Yeah? CDC, they are Liberians. The seditions, they are Liberians. They have the right to speak out. The same way Unity Party spoke for 6 years against the CDC. And so we should not do this, because you support the CDC, so you not get red. Shut up. They defended those things. Unity Partisans, they defended everything. When they came in opposition, they were acting that they are the messiahs. Today, they are in government. The same thing they were defending yesterday. They were against yesterday, they're defending it today. So, my brother,
Okay,
you know, I just wanted to ask you this question. I don't know if you can come back on. The audio you spoke about, and the government get audio, Why the government could not play that audio in court as the evidence that they get against those people? Why they could not play the audio? Well, I don't know how can you call that audio.
I enjoy you so much.
Okay.
Please, Johnny, let me give this announcement quick, yeah? Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, on Monday we have, it will be a big one. We have a lot of breaking news on Monday. We have first of all, let me just read this that just came out from Elections Commission. Mr. James M.Y. Yogi, National Chairman, proposed Citizen Movement for Change, CMC, Software Community, Liberia, Cinco. Certificate. Dear Mr. Yogi, I'm pleased to present compliments on behalf of the NEC and wish to inform you that the proposed CMC has met the requirements of Articles 7 of the Constitution of Liberia and Chapter 15. The telling them said that in view of the above, the Commission would issue a certificate of accreditation to the proposed Citizen Movement for Change on Friday, March 7, in the conference room of the NEC at 2 p.m. Signed by the editor. He said they are therefore invite the National Executive Committee and member of the proposed CNC to be present. Signed the editor Brown Lasana, Chairman NEC. Well, that's the CMC, the new party on the block, Citizen Movement of Change. Will be certificated on Friday. On Monday, the chairman, the political leader for that party will be our guest, the Honorable Musa Hassan Bilete. He will be here to give some breaking news. A lot of news will be made on the show on Monday.
And the chairman for Diaspora Affairs is right there too. So we'll keep her in the back.
We'll be here, and so we'll be here on Monday to see what happens. But there'll be a big time. Let's get it. And also too.
But Greg, why you leaving Dalabaluba?
I am not the chairman of Diaspora.
Greg, why you leaving Dalabaluba?
No, let me give. I am the
Let me come back to the fire issue now, so we can tell the other thing.
Can you please bring Lofa on? Tomalin, please bring Lofa on. Lofa is in the back.
On Monday, we have the political leader of the CMC here. After the certificate, his party on Friday. I'm sure all the officials will be. Some officials will be here. I don't know who all will be here, but I'm very sure. I'm positive that the leader of the party will be here. Honorable Musa Bete will be here. He'll be chairman. He'll be on the show on Monday. And then also, as you're aware too, the vice president of Liberia is in America. I just got the information after this morning in America, and he'll be having a town hall meeting in Pennsylvania on Saturday, I'm told, at the Harvest Church. And I know the CDC boys are getting ready for that.
And go there so you can walk on them or lay on the ground. So you can walk on them.
So, but we'll be interesting event here. I don't think I'll be attending. I won't be in attendance. I won't be.
So, Tomalin, you finish?
Yeah, so let me clarify my position, Tomalin. Well, Garguah, I am not the whatsoever diaspora affair you're talking about. I am the chairperson of the Northeast region now.
Oh, not the whole America.
You're not part of
Northeast region.
So, Grace, you're not.
Okay.
Grace, you're not with money by.
No, I'm no longer with him.
Oh, okay.
Oh, why you give us so quick?
It's a one another show. You can ask me.
Johnny, go ahead. Johnny, go ahead. After Johnny started coming.
Okay, so let's go back to the fire situation, and when it comes to investigation and prosecution, because I see that our colleagues on the show, probably may not understand when it comes to criminal investigation and prosecution. And I'll make some scenario. One scenario, for example, we had the case with the little girl that was killed, or the girl that died in Mususka house, right? Everyone argued that somebody killed this girl. And the first suspect for this death was those that were in the house with the little girl. And the government took them as suspect, went to prosecution, and were found not guilty on grounds of evidence. And that's my point when I told you guys about this fire situation. Our state security ability to collect the evidence and link it to those the suspect for committing the crime, that ability is an issue we have. That's why I said this is not a political discussion. This is purely issue of legality, an issue of science and technology. Now, the fire disaster occurred in the Capitol building, and obviously, from the investigation report I've read, it speaks to somebody putting the fire in that place. Now, that's the first thing you got to conduct investigation. What happened? The thing was not done by accident. It was not done by any fire. Any electrical shock, but somebody did the act. Then you begin the investigation. Who did the act? How can you identify the suspect and link it to the evidence that you are collecting? That is a challenge I see with the police and the fire service. And even though the guys from the US have done their investigation and collected evidence from the ground, the possibility of linking the evidence that they have collected to individuals they have under their current custody is also a challenge. Criminal investigation, like in this case now, is a criminal trial that the police is involved with, because arson is a criminal offense. And they have to identify the elements that constitute arson. And if those elements are identified, you got to link them to the culprit you have or the suspect you have. And looking at the situation we have in the country, and by listening to what the guy said, that he suspects that the fire service and the police do not have the capacity to conduct investigation. So if they will rely on the evidence that was collected by these guys there, they have to find a way to link the evidence to the suspects. And that's a challenge. That's why I said the government will lose that case. I'm not even saying me. The government will lose that case, because any strong defense lawyer for those guys, they go to court. And I heard you talking about audio. Sometimes audios are not admissible. Sometimes they are admissible, depending on the source of the audio you got, the evidence you collected. You understand? But with what I see happening, that depoliticize that whole situation. I expect the police and all government agencies involved in the matter to make that investigation to be depoliticized, remove politics, go straight into it professionally, collect the evidence, and do the proper prosecution. And even if the lawyers that are on our case for government are depolitical about that trial, in my mind, they look at the evidence, look at the situation, they may not be able to link the evidence to the guys they have. Otherwise, they go to court, they will waste government resources, and the defense lawyer may just find one or two holes that will bow in the evidence, and then the judge will be compelled to set those guys free. So that's the point we make it. Not because we don't want justice in the country. We want justice. I've worked in the justice sector for the last 15 years. I know the challenges that our system face. I know why people are taking law in their hands in Monrovia by taking more violent action, because our system does not have the support to collect evidence in court and prosecute people and find them guilty on the strength of the evidence. And the same situation we will have in the fire trial. The fire trial will have the same issue. Like I said about Grace, about Gloria Scott, the lead girl, right? I personally, for my experience, I still believe that that girl was killed by people in that house, and they couldn't identify anyone who entered that house. So then, but meanwhile, Gloria Scott is set free, and the guy is dead. So what do we say, right? What do we say about that? So let me stop here, and maybe Siddiqui and Robert can say something. But that's my point with regards to the fire incident in the country, in Monrovia, especially at the Capitol building.
Listen, Johnny, I think I agree with most of what you said. Everything in Liberia is politicized because the truth of the matter is, we do not have institutions that are functioning independently. That's just the truth. The police director works at the will and pleasure of the president. And I'm very, very sure, as we've seen with the attorney general, these guys do not have the balls to truly stand up and say, Mr. President, based on our own expertise, based on our academic and our practical experience in this area, which you have reposed this level of trust in us to lead these institutions, we do not think you should proceed this way. Now, these suggestions may not politically align with the president's approach. I get it. But we do not have the professionals in Liberia, in government agencies, that in the past and even now have been truthful to the leader. Who dare give an opposite opinion of what the president wants? He or she loses his job. This is the fact. This is the fact. And so,
You're right.
And so I do not expect the police chief. I do not expect the fire chief. I do not expect the attorney general. Look, when people talk about why people have reservations, look at what happened with the Kofa's case. And by the way, if we did not have the impasses on Capitol Hill, I think that we would not be talking about the fire that we're talking about right now at the level politically that we're talking about it. Let's be very clear. So there's a link there. But look at what just happened. Anyone with some common sense would agree that this government and the attorney general clearly did what he did because that's what the president wanted. Who anyone that appreciates the law will never attempt to allow the government proceed with their own interpretation of what the Supreme Court have ruled. And recently, the Supreme Court is now calling the this so-called desperate crook speaker, purported speaker. The Supreme Court, in fact, are using terminology that have backed what we are saying. That until Fanatic Kofa resigns, until they follow the process and the procedures and the law, the constitution to re-elect a new speaker, Richard Coon cannot be identified or seen as speaker under any constitutional guidance. But yet and still, people on the other side would look at that and say, you know what? All we know, Richard Coon is a speaker. Watch what's happening at the Supreme Court. Watch what's happening. This is still a crisis unfolding at on Capitol that has not yet been resolved. Yet and still, this government has embraced Richard Coon. Yet and still, the Senate have embraced Richard Coon. So when people have these questions and reservations about our justice and our justice system and our system in general, they have all right. They have all right. Because instances after instances have proved that we do not do things the way they are supposed to be done. It's just the truth. They're all about politics and about winning the next political argument. They're not about the law and they're not about the facts. So no one is saying yet this very same justice, and Duke was here talking about, and I'm shocked because we're not talking about, what Alice Cummings could have afforded. Alice Cummings was right. He could have afforded experts to come from abroad to clear his name. But what did that do to the investigation on the case itself? Did that impact the case in any way? No, it didn't. They still proceeded with the case. We all knew this case was all political. We argued with some of our best friends. We argued with our best friends who supported Unity Party and wanted Joseph Boakai to be seen as the guy to lead the CPP ticket. It was all political. So it wasn't about what Alice Cummings could have proved, because if that was the case, then they would have dropped the case. They would have dropped the case a long time ago. If it was about the truth, it's about the facts, it was about justice, they would not have even proceeded with prosecution in that case because it was political from the genesis of it. Unfortunately, we have a system, we have a country where most of these cases are not about the facts. They are not about the truth. They are about proving a political point. And this case is no exception. The fact that the chief can come on this platform and put a dent in the ability of our fire chiefs to even conduct a credible investigation. The fact that they even admitted that the inspector general, the police chief, made a comment based on something of 40 years ago or 50 years ago that is no longer applicable now. It's enough reason to say, look, drop this case. We all want accountability, folks, but we want the right people to be held accountable. And I think that in order to have the right people held accountable, we've all got to be patient. We all got to calm down. It cannot be a political witch hunt. We saw what is happening now with this case with the former finance minister. I sat on this very platform against some of my closest friends in the CDC. I'm not a member of any political party. I don't care. No one paid my rent. My stomach is not dependent on anyone who works in government. I can say what the heck I want to say. No, I don't need nothing from any government official. The same car they're driving at the expense of the Liberian people, I'm driving that car at my own expense. So when we speak here, we don't speak based on our stomach. But the same folks that the same folks that they're talking about today, were the same folks that they criticized back then. The same folks. It's the system. We have a systemic issue in that country. And those that have been elected have not done any better to allow the public to earn their trust. They have not done that. They have not done that. So again, I want people held accountable. Unfortunately, at the level of which this investigation has been guarded, I don't think the state have enough to even have those folks in prison as we speak. I don't think they have enough. I don't think the police were guarded properly to have those charges and to have those guys incarcerated. I don't think. Last point I want to make, Tomalin, is that the CMC, why people are so afraid. Look, Ability has the right to disassociate with a political party and form his own party. I don't think that should be the argument. The argument we should be making now is anyone who do not support the CMC, the argument you should be making now is why your party is the party with the vision, the character, right? The record to be the next a party that is given the opportunity to lead Liberia. Because the CMC will make its case. I have a bunch of questions about the CMC. I have a bunch of questions. Are they just another political party, or are they here to put forth true political institutions? And if Ability comes, I will ask him that. Is he willing to go to a convention? Is he willing to lead the charge on a primary, something that he advised Alice Cummings when they were in the CPP, which the Unity Party rejected? Are they willing to be a part of an institution that is not centered around an individual, but rather ideology? That's the kind of institutions I want to be a part of. And until I can see that institution that represents a political institutions that is not just focused on the now, but 10, 20, 30 years from now, I will remain where I am. So don't be afraid. put your party together and make sure you have the right argument, the right tools, the right vision to argue against the CMC. But I think this is a great thing for our democracy. I just don't like the idea of all of these 25 and 50 political parties when in fact we know that there will be a runoff where only 2 political parties go to, right? And so I think this is encouraging, but the CMC has a lot of work to do. They have a lot of questions to answer. And I'm glad that the political leader of the CMC is making himself available to answer some of these questions.
Well, let me say something. I can tell anybody, if anybody think that the 2029 election will start 2029 or 2028, they must be on a different planet. The 2029 election have already started. Take it or leave it. And I can tell you a lot of surprising news that will come in the coming weeks, coming months, that will shock the political world in Liberia. And let me just respond to my man Abu and Joman. Joman, look, in my entire lifetime, I've only not even joined. I've been with one party, right? And we established the party. That's important. Running around CDC when CDC was an idea. It was an idea. CDC was an idea. I repeat, it was an idea. 2004, the likes of Samuel Tue, James Colley, Piso Sedita, our late comrade Patrick Sawyer, the late Harry Bese, Juaru Beslow, you talk about Tenem Blambo, Jonathan Jibwe, and many others. We founded and established that CDC in Minnesota. Yes, 2004. And CDC, I give the party credit. But if our first time we came out, went in an election with all the major political actors, and we came first place the first time. Election, I still say again, I repeat, to 2005, the story for us. But it's history. We let it pass, But I can tell you right now, I'm not an active man in any party right now because of what I do. I can't be on a show like this and I be on a particular party because I gotta be independent. So I'm independent, right? From an independent person right now. It is true that I will tell you, I only party I've ever been part of, no other party. And so right now, the play we are reaching out Liberian politics, it's not about joining party anymore. No, it's about finding a winning team, that can win election 2029. And I repeat, I would not be a part of any losing team 2029. No way. The team that will rule the country for the next 6 years, come 2029, that team I'll be part of. So we'll be studying all the various parties. We'll be going around studying all the various parties, right? And so that's that wait. The time is coming. Right now, people are actively involved. People are not involved in politics right now. And then watch the Supreme Court too. Watch the Supreme Court carefully. The Supreme Court, I think tomorrow, they will be finally interpreting, responding to the bill of information filed by the minority bloc. Now, if you look at the Supreme Court citation, they refer to Richard Kuhn as purported speaker. Okay? I mean, in other words, it's like you claim to be speaker. We wouldn't really recognize you. You say you're purported, you claim to be speaker, but you're not speaker. And refer to Kofa as the speaker of the 55th legislature. So if the Supreme Court respond to the bill of information filed by the minority bloc, is the president of Liberia is under obligation to tell his justice minister, who is the dean of the Supreme Court bar. Repeat, the justice minister of Liberia is the dean of the Supreme Court bar. He should come to the president and tell the president, based on the Supreme Court bill of information they are responding to, they are saying that, whatever they say now, they are saying that Richard Kuhn is not speaker. They are still
my man, don't preempt Supreme Court. Don't preempt Supreme Court.
I'm preempting, but what I'm going to say, right?
Yeah, well, be careful now. Don't preempt.
But what I'm saying is that if they come up tomorrow and say Richard Kuhn, they say Richard Kuhn is not recognized as a speaker, and they come out and say they're still recognizing of Fanatic Kofa, the president will be on obligation immediately to tell the justice minister, because he should interpret the Supreme Court opinion to the president and executive branch. And on our jurisprudence, only the attorney general, he's the only member of the president's cabinet who can publicly disagree with him. So I think Because a man of Councillor Oswald Tuer status, he should be very honest with the president and say, look, based on what the Supreme Court will say, so look, they have recognized this man as speaker. Because just imagine now, ECOWAS have rejected him. He sent people to ECOWAS to remove other people. ECOWAS just downplayed. And ECOWAS still recognizing other people. Okay? As I speak, Senator Snow is in Gambia. Yes, send me a video. I will play it tomorrow. We don't have the time now. Play tomorrow. What's happening in the Gambia? Okay, they are actively involved in the Gambia. Other stuff happening there. So if that is done, all to take shift from this government, all they need to do, call for elections. Say, look, you go have election for your speaker. And I'm sure from what I know, I'm very sure that Speaker Kofa, I don't think he intends to even stay run for speaker. Let them have election for speaker. They will elect who the speaker to be, and then that impact is over. The government can move on, but you cannot move the government on. Every day you having this disagreement. The members are not in. I mean, you have majority black. It's affecting the government. Okay, because who will be the next international body that will not recognize the Liberian legislature again? Okay.
Well, too many.
If you go to a consortium agreement to sign something, a consortium agreement to concur with it or to ratify it, if they cannot do it, then you're in trouble. So President Boga, the best thing to do for you, for your government, is to make sure that the impasse is resolved. As long as they resolve, you'll be leading a country just like that. So let's watch what happened at the Supreme Court. Let's watch carefully, and let's also watch our political space. The Nima election, we should watch it carefully too, and see what happened. But before I bring you, Johnny, my final word in Nima election, I repeat, if the opposition want to take that seat from the government, the ruling establishment, they got to come together. They don't get elected not by his own, but because you had elections of Alexander Cup or Joseph Boyka or Bernard Yue, they all supporting Delon. They put a weight behind him. It was the candidate that they took against the CDC. At the time, the CDC was having some struggles. And the same problem the present government finds itself in today. President Boyka, you're doing scientific polling, he'll be maybe perhaps in the 30s. His approval rating will be in the 30s. His government will be in the 30s or in the 20s. So with the government being unpopular, the president being unpopular, opposition come together, they can pull the Nima election. But if they are divided, going with 9-8 candidates, the chances of then of the government losing that seat will be. I mean, I just don't see it. But come here, Johnny.
Yeah. So, I mean, come on, Tomalin, thank you. I think with regards to the impasse on the legislature, especially the House of Representatives, I keep asking, how do we get to this point? How do we get to this point? I mean, for me, I think everything has been clear to us from the beginning. But it's just because of political, I mean, I can say low political calculation. You do an action, you depend on the rule of law or on the Supreme Court to help you govern. Supreme Court gives a ruling. For me, why else do you need to be made clarify? Supreme Court says this person is speaker, even though this person does not have the quorum. Cannot hold quorum, cannot have business because he lack quorum. The other guy's action is utter virus, which means they are unconstitutional. What in that thing they have to understand? They're not calculus there. They're not any difficult, physics, astrophysics you're doing over there. Simple thing. Then after that, you see your former government, your former president, making a statement, say, me, I know law, and I'm law abiding, because she did not attend the SONA event. Then the entire Supreme Court bench did not attend your program. All the things are signal to tell you that the law is being disrespected. Let's take recourse and get back onto business. Then you see now that you wrote a communication to, in fact, let me read the ECOWAS Parliament. Right there, those that you suspended, you took action upon for not taking pay, they took it to court. The court came back and gave a ruling, calling on the finance minister and whoever to ensure that the people, and the controller to ensure people get a payback. So all the actions you take, like you took it in the name that you are a constitutional leader, and they are all being rejected. I don't think it's not sufficient to tell you that we are on the wrong path. Right in Monrovia, they know very well that very House of Representative. Some of the embassies around there are not, are not responding to them the way they should be.
Exactly.
They know they're right in Monrovia. They see those things happening.
No, but Johnny, another thing, right? For instance, right, what's going to happen is that, okay, the vice president is in the States, right? Now, by right, you're going to see you got.
Wait, isn't there on invitation to the U.S.?
No, now it came for one conference, but it's not I don't think the U.S. government. And now that conference was organized before Trump came to power. Okay, so before Trump came to power, that conference was organized before Trump came to power. So that's why you see, if you notice in the picture, you don't see like the U.S. government's Secret Service or whatever they will give to a visiting vice president or a president a sign. They will give other immunities to you. You don't see it so far because there's a conference that was separate. And so again, but what you're gonna see from the thing happening, don't forget you got people too who are talking to other people in Washington, other places, talking and talking, saying different things. So it will undermine your visit and everything. And now you will find usually when officials of government come to this country, especially the top people like the president, the vice president, usually majority of the people that attend your programs are friendly audience. They come there and to cheer you up. Okay, like when President Garguah came the first time, but now because of what's happening in the country is divided. You're gonna see what happened on Saturday at that town hall event. You're gonna see. Or I don't know I don't know, but I know it will be. I expect to see drama there because people will be there to people are not happy. People are not happy, and mind you have a government in power now in this country that their basic thing is that no money should go to any country now. They suspend everything. Your money stay in our country. They make America great again. They make America and this and that again. So people are also taking our national budget. Somebody told me today, say your national budget on Capitol Hill there. The people look at your budget, put in like, it's like, oh, can you believe it? What? They can't believe this small country, the kind of money they're giving the people, and the people say, oh my God, what's happening? They can't believe it that this Liberian budget, one person getting the amount of money, and they're wondering, and they see the country is not developed. The country people are poor. We are the eighth poorest nation in the world, and they see this thing. If I were in the government right now, I want to travel to America right now with that kind of a budget we play with. They say, because somebody question you, say, but how can you explain the kind of budget you guys having? Why must one person have $2-3 million budget? And the common man, the common making $90 a month. Why?
Yeah, well, Tomalin, just give a break. So is he on a visit as a private visit?
No, don't forget now, the vice president got that visa in October of last year. And I think it was the time that Biden was taking office. So he got it during the Biden administration. So when they came here for this energy summit, now that they came for. Yeah. But just last little while. And so as a result of that, they got to be very, 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 very careful. Because
well, listen to me. The point I want to make here is this. If the conference was canceled, right?
I don't know what canceled, but I know that conference was organized prior to Trump administration. That I know
of. So you want to learn? You want to learn?
Go ahead.
So I think this is coming yet, but this is I think that can anyone, to your point, can anyone tell us what is in this visit that benefits the Liberian people?
But that's the point I'm coming to, Robert. That's the very point, and that's why I'm asking all the questions.
This administration have taken more foreign trips in 1 year than George Weah did in 6. This president has flown more private jets in 1 year or a little over 1 year than George Weah did in 6. And yet and still, even though the question what those trips that he took, especially the one where he was gone for a month, benefited the Liberian people, every time Joseph Boakai arrived at RIA, when they ask him, what is in this for the Liberian people? His answer is, well, investors are willing to come to the country. The question is, when are they going to arrive? If they're willing to come, why have they not arrived? Why have not a single investor arrive in the country when you're going into your second year now? So I think what this trip is about, and you begin to see it on social media, Johnny, is that this is just a case again for a political narrative that shame those who said that the vice president could not come to America. Because prior to Jeremiah Cohn becoming vice president, there were lots of questions surrounding his entry into this country. And I still believe that if Jeremiah Cohn was not vice president, Jeremiah Cohn would not be in the US today, because he's been given special privileges that he would not have gotten as a senator. Why is it that he never came to America all those years as senator or as lawmaker? Other lawmakers have come here. So this is what it is. People have already started posting messages. Oh, I thought you guys said the vice president could not come to America. Where is he now? This is what this case is about. This is
And
not.
that's listen, and Robert, that those are the indicators or the our country, the way we see things, the way we discuss things. It tells us how little we are in our thoughts. Those are things to even. I mean, is that what we should be spending our energy on? That you say the American Council he coming. So I want to know something. So the money that will be spent for this travel, right? And don't tell me because they already had a visa through. No. I had the experience, right? I had a visa to go to the US in 2021. In fact, in 2020, to attend a UN program. When the COVID had a situation in the US, the program was canceled. And did not go to the US. The visa remained in my book until that year ended. The following year, when I had enough visa to go to the US, I got a new visa. So nobody tell you, oh, the man already had a visa, so you gotta go. No. If the program is canceled, you don't go. You don't spend that money.
So the bottom line here is this trip is nothing but a morale boost for the vice president and those around him who have for so long listened and have heard people question his ability to travel to the US. This is what this is about. I can guarantee you, Tomalin, the reason why the office was pressuring the community in Philadelphia to host a town hall was because I think that's about what they have. They have nothing else. He's not meeting with no top. I saw the press release. Who are they? Where are they? When are these meetings taking place? This is just another big cold bluff, and that's exactly what it is. He's going to come to America. He's going to see America. He's going to take pictures. He's going to have town hall meetings with folks. He's going to answer unnecessary questions that have nothing to do with policies that will impact the lives of the people. And guess what? A few days from now, he's going to return back to Liberia, and this is going to be the end of it. But what have all of these trips, Tomalin? The question we should be asking, what have these trips brought back to the Liberian people? What? Exactly what? So again,
I said, Tomalin, please ask Larry, because Larry is next by. Let Larry go see that man one-on-one.
Larry, to go see who?
Yeah, Professor Kennedy, let him go. Let Larry go and be with the VP, man.
I'm not part of the VP team, but I'm part of. I'm not.
The man, your man. You're calling. I told Larry go see that man. Let them talk one-on-one. Maybe Larry can make an impact.
No, they don't want Larry.
This trip is being planned, is arranged by the vice president supporters in America. They have a strong base in Pennsylvania, and also the Liberian Association in Pennsylvania. I'm not part. The only thing the vice president I know was on our show last Friday when he called to say you're in Brussels on the way to the States at all. But I'm not part. I don't know how it was the organization of the whole meeting, the whole thing. I'm not part of it. I mean, that's why I don't think I will even be there on Saturday. But let me say this. So you know something? I will say this. The last time, whenever you come to this country, right? If you come through the U.S. government or when they recognize your trip, you come to this country. Once they provide you Secret Service detail, security detail. And the last time the President Guar was vice president, he came to Pennsylvania. I went to that town hall event, had it in a church, and that was a scene to watch. Those guys, the Liberian guys that were there, they went after the VP with some question, and they started to even shout. Yeah, this security detail had to take the vice president at that time, Boycott, took him from there quickly and put him in his car, and they left the scene. Now, I don't know what will happen in Pennsylvania. Usually, the team will get in touch with the local police here, the state police, and tell them, and that they will use their own funding now. They'll be doing their own funding to take care of that whole arrangement. But to the Pennsylvania, I'll tell you this: it's a very hostile environment. The only person I see who broke that thing recently was Funati Kofa, to brave the storm, to come to Pennsylvania and say he will go for a 3-hour town hall meeting. President Sali she never put her foot there. She avoided it. President Weah never attempted. He never came to Pennsylvania. President Boycott, I don't know whether he will come here during his tenure. Only Funati Kofa made that you were brave to come here to face Liberians. Because this place, you have people from all political spectrum are here. And Pennsylvania too, Philadelphia is another strong CDC base too. I tell you for a fact, citizens are here they are in the majority here. So I want to see what happened on that day. We'll be watching for
Tomalin. For me personally, I don't really care what happens, to be honest. Again, you see what his name, Nima's son, they're already making the comments. You're allowed to, or you'll say the vice president could not come, and he yet now. This is what this trip is about. That's what it is. This is about this justification. You know, so they've been validated that, oh yeah, the president come to America. He can come to America. He yet now.
Yeah, they already experiencing problem already.
Let me close on the note, Tomalin. Kudos to Funati Kofa. When the time comes, we will have conversations surrounding his leadership and the reservations and the disagreements that I personally have with his leadership, because I think he contributed to this in leadership wise. But I think he's stood the time. I think he's been consistent, because any other person would have probably, under pressure and given all of what has happened, they would have probably resigned by now. But I'm glad that he has decided to fight this on, and he reminds me of what Councilor Bromskin did. People did not agree when Bromskin went to the Supreme Court with his discrepancy case with the results of the election in 2017. People did not agree, but he went to court. He did it the right way. He didn't run into the bushes. He didn't ask folks to go and do unconstitutional things. He did it the right way. And you know what? He respected the Supreme Court ruling on that case, even though he disagreed with it. He respected it. This is the kind of stuff that we want to see. This is the kind of leadership we want to see. Funati Kofa has stuck to his gun. He has continued to pursue this case legally. And it seems like from all indications, he's winning this case, whether you like it or not. The languages, the terminologies that are coming from the Supreme Court is indicative that Richard Cohn is a fraud. It's indicative that Richard Cohn is a crook. It's indicative that Richard Cohn is desperate. So I'm looking forward to, and I can tell you to Richard Cohn's face, this is bad. You can't be this desperate for power. You can't be this desperate to become speaker. You've got to do it the right way. And if it was Funati Kofa in Richard Cohn's shoes, we would be saying the very, very same thing. So I just want to say again, kudos to Funati Kofa. I think he's done the right thing. He stood by the law. And I believe in the long term, history, whatever become of this case, history will smile at him. Because another speaker who might be in his, because I think this is going to continue. They will continue to do this mess until something stops it, right? And I think maybe the buck might stop with Funati Kofa. But I think that history will judge him right. And everyone who has spoken on the side of the law, history will judge them right. Funati Kofa remains a speaker. And I believe that eventually the Supreme Court will issue a statement that speaks to the common minds of our people and break it down, and will say, Richard Cohn, until you are elected constitutionally. And I think that's the reason why they're asking them for elections.
Let me ask you a question before you leave. Okay, this is coming from former President Salih. She said, now is definitely not the time for the Supreme Court to deliver an ambiguous ruling that may take us away from a peaceful resolving of the knowingly disruption, including unfolding in another important branch of the government. The truth, she said, the truth is that there will always be consequences when we act with courage to do the right thing, or falter in dereliction by pretending blindness. Now, she's saying that she's making something song. She said we are on our own, President Salif. And I believe that's what I'm saying. The Supreme Court, when they are responding in the bit of opinion tomorrow, is very key, because from what I'm hearing
Is
now.
it tomorrow or next Friday?
Next Friday, eh? Okay. But what I'm hearing is that the reason why they're taking it serious now is because it's having an impact on the government. Now, so I believe when they issue this, when they render the opinion and they respond to the bill of information, I believe whoever side they go, wherever way they go, that side will say, well, I think it's about time that we do the right thing. So, for example, if they go against the minority bloc, saying that we recognize that the people are recognized, I think the minority bloc will just drop their case. Maybe if Fernando will resign, and they will say, well, go back to status quo, and they will continue as Speaker Kun. But if they say they stand by what they have said earlier, I believe Kun Boycott will be under pressure to say, look, Richard Kun, it's about time that we have an election. High election for Speaker, let him be resolved. We cannot say we're a country of laws and we don't respect our Supreme Court. You saw what happened yesterday. The Supreme Court of the United States told Trump, said, no, the money that Congress already appropriated, you say, you cannot stop that money. The money got to be spent. They voted 5-4. 2 conservative judges voted along with the three liberal Democrats on the Supreme Court bench. Okay? At the highest court of the land. Now, you see what happened? Today, Trump was also even abolished the Department of Education. But the pressure, he knows that he won't have that 60 votes to do it in the Senate. He cut it off straight. So, come back to our country. This Supreme Court ruling, it will be very key. So I pray and hope that somebody will listen and they will follow the rule of law.
Okay. So, Tomalin, thank you, man. Thank you for today's show. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm not being regular because of job-related activities and other matters, but I hope I can try to make maybe Thursday and Fridays regular for me to join the show. But I think it was a good day together. But I'll get one advice that maybe if we're talking in the back, this is not for the public. In the back, we can talk about some of the issues that we can, consider in improving the quality of this, this show. This show is doing a lot for a lot of people in the country. So we need to be clear when we make, comments here, or when we say things here. Our audience is what I believe the audience is the one that own this show. We are only just as servants, but the audience should be our masters and our heads, and so we should respect them and make sure that when we speak the issues with regards to giving people information for decision making. But thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Johnny. And dog, my man, what all you gotta do for the family to survive, you gotta do it, buddy. Everybody's right now. I put on as was Chairman Ben. Ben got a new job that it can't give him chance. You gotta be one place to another, so that's why you don't see Ben. But everybody into this thing. We had a talk before we came on the show. I had a conference call. Everybody in it. It'll be a time too that myself will not be around like this too. But we pray that somebody will step up and move on. And Lofa is.
Are you still coming, Marsh?
I will talk to you, but because security reason, yeah. And Lofa said doing a job too now that he on the road. He traveled from one to another. So that's why Lofa is now. You don't see Lofa. Not that Lofa is afraid, but Lofa is traveling. Okay. And the man, the man got to work. So the man got to go one state to another and so forth on the road. The man are big man. So when you're making a big box, you gotta run. You gotta say so. You gotta go there. So Lofa not coming regular, but everybody is not easy right now. And then every time of the year, we're getting closer to graduation. My daughter, one of my daughter will be graduating too. So all the things coming closer too. But again, my people, let us continue to pray for our country. And look at Juma Jana. The guy is just Juma Jana.
My man, country problem can be solved through praying. That too. making decisive action and to do things. I'm praying. The other people who making progress, and I'm praying, they're working.
We'll see that.
One of my friends told me, he said, they got faith, they got foolishness, and two of them start with F. Sometimes people do doing things when you're doing things by faith, so that tend to be foolishness. When you're doing faith, you gotta be practical and be working hard, and you get something done. So prayer gotta be by your action. But anyway, have a good day.
Yeah, man, Johnny, that Starlink, Sonny, you how can I get one for somebody in that, bro? How can I get it? Starlink. I want you to say that, bro.
I need to start asking tomorrow because I'm learning that they are now in the country and we have it at our office and trying to get more information about how I can get it locally at my home also. But I will find out and let you know.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, people. I'll see you, man. You gotta have a good one. You pray for our country, pray for everybody, and take care of yourself, okay? God bless.
Okay. Right.
Ria TV, True FM.
Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV,
into True FM 96.1.
What's the meaning of the black barrel?
The black barrel is to tell Joseph Bakala, if you don't organize yourself in your grateful manner, we'll keep your better.
You might say what you want to say, but for us, we are here to make sure we build our country, that we are respected. We have donors that are coming because of the confidence.
News Summary at 12. My name is Hansen there represent.
Welcome to News and Analysis 30 minutes of news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and our one world.
Presenting this newscast is proudly sponsored by Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited.
How is life after the presidency?
But before the presidency, the same life that what you see. I have a different life. You know, when I was not president, this life that what I live, you know, with my family and
I have a lot of interest in the health sector, the educational sector, and the agriculture sector. Both connected with this country.
Yeah, we are calling international community to come to intervene for us because, like I just stated previously, we don't know who to trust.
Always make sure to turn on to our
Ria TV and listening to Truth FM 96.1.